Still
All I
want
want
to
to see
flex
is
at
when people
everybody.
put in hard work, and I know Ryujin's not putting in the hardest of work because he's got a trick unit, but I'm saying if you're putting in the hard work to do something, I feel like you should be rewarded. And I think people who make the list for TOA should be receiving something, anything.
What if it's just if you cross the threshold, you get a reward, and then you can have a cosmetic leaderboard? It's the best of both worlds, right? It's balanced to all players because it gives everyone the chance to get something, and everyone knows exactly what they're going to get if they
10K
cross
mana.
that line, right? So let's say realistic, it's like, okay, this week's challenge is everyone needs to get a Kairos B10 team, one of the main three, under 1 minute. If you reach the under 1 minute, you're guaranteed to get
10K
3
mana.
Mystic Scrolls. What did you just say?
10K mana.
All right, somebody get a new host.
I know it's close.
We're done with this guy.
To level up.
Aloha from the YouTube channel. Welcome back to another podcast. As you can see, we got a nice mix of familiar faces. Yeah, I'm sure we've got this mix before. I don't know. There's so many permutations that we could potentially do that I don't know. We always we have everybody together before, right? But welcome back, Stoic, Lucky, What's a Love, and Thompson. Hope you guys are ready for today's podcast. We're gonna dive right into it. But before that, Thompson, do you have anything to say? You always have those random side topics that are a good starter, no?
Nothing much.
Nothing much?
Today.
Okay, all right. Gotta get to topic number one. Topic
Thanks,
number
Rob.
one today is I noticed there's been a lot of people that are trying to do the missions and trying to get through like Labyrinth hard. What are some of your suggestions for them to kind of defeat that? Also, on top of that, we can talk a little bit more about Labyrinth. We haven't really touched up on this that much in past podcasts. What stages do you like? What do you dislike? And how to beat some of these various stages in Labyrinth, considering that you guys do it on the daily or when you guys are clearing it. What kind of comps do you use typically for those? Let's talk a little bit about Labyrinth.
I think for a lot of them, I use like twins, and the one that everyone's trying to farm for with their dimensional crystals. I use I think it's called Eludia. Is it Eludia? What is it called?
Illunia?
Yeah, the level that everyone farms.
Wait, we're talking about Labyrinth, or are we talking about Dimensional Hole?
Labyrinth. Oh, not Labyrinth. I'm talking about Dimensional Hole. Sorry.
No worries, no worries.
Oh, wow.
We could talk about that too a little bit later. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah? Well, like the Elunia level, I just used Irochi, Bernard, Yen, Chasun comp.
Does it work well for you?
That's the one I'm using right now too. It works well. It's really well.
I didn't like the team very much, so I changed. I put Lagmarin in, and it's like way safer. I was running like 80% with Orochi lead.
I'm like 95. I'm like 95. Maybe you just gotta get better runes.
I was trying to put Tanya in that team. I thought Tanya would be pretty good.
You what?
But she's not. Don't try Tanya. I tried. It didn't work.
It needs to be a defense breaker. If you're going to replace anything with the Orochi, it either has to be something bruisery or something defense break.
No, I think the Orochi is so good though. The damage it provides and the dots is huge. It's 30% like guaranteed if it puts the dots. So it's like it's hard to kind of take that away.
Damage.
The key might be having your Bernard on Violent. I don't know. It works for me. Like a little bit faster on Violent.
I actually went the other way. I made everyone tankier, and now they just don't die.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
So I made everyone tankier, and I used lag lead, and no one dies to the Belinus.
Yeah. I think that's pretty important. It is really hard to find like a consistent good team for the Sanctuary of Dreaming Fairies.
Because if you miss the defense break, you just die.
Yeah.
I agree. All right, back to the topic on Labyrinth, though, but that was a little bit of Illunia. I mean, that's a good one to talk about as well. I do want to have some topics in the future of Dimensional Hole, right? People are always asking, like, what kind of teams you use, how to defeat these dungeons, right? So these are all big topics, all these PvE pieces of content. But back to Labyrinth here, what stages do you like and dislike? Yeah, I'll go first. I mean, personally, I like the time stages. I mean, because let's be real, that's you just auto that. A cool strategy in that stage that I kind of learned from Roger Weak Dog was that you can use Balagur in there, and it's pretty good, right? Because you use Balagur in there with like Fran, and he gets the attack buff. For some reason, if he's like killing the stage, he doesn't lose that attack buff. It doesn't lose a turn, so he just gets attack buff forever. And you don't even need that good of a Balagur. Just use a Balagur that you use in BJ5, and it works so well. Right, that paired up with like Shayna and like another twin and Fran, you're kind of like set on like clearing that stage all the way up to like 16 pretty damn easily, assuming that your rune quality is decent.
I thought everybody used that.
I know for the speed limit one, I like using Leo and like pretty much
Leo Verd for speed limit for sure.
And it used to be really hard, but now you could use like the same team for every dungeon kind of. So it got kind of better like that.
The attack buff works the same way in secret dungeons as well. That's why it's so effective.
I see. So Balagur's good in SD as well to farm then is what you're saying too.
Yeah.
And farm doesn't forever.
I think if you're not using Baelger Twins for the time limit stage, using like Lucian, Beth, Rocky, Zyros, anything that has 2 AoEs is really, really good. Anything that rotates really fast. Yeah, Teshar is decent. I use my Win BK, a Lucian, a Beth, and a Zyros for that. Because I like the Win BK for the attack buff and the potential stun. But twins are super safe for it. Twins are super, super safe. If you have a lot of AoE twins, you just pop them all in.
My issue with twins is not the same color, and when you get around like level 14 or 15, one of them dies, and then your comps just like completely get destroyed.
So for that, the way to get around it is if you build Shina, Diva, and then you use Sabrina, and if you're lucky enough to have a Bailey, then you can do that too, because Bailey does AoE speed scaling damage. So you use Shina, Diva, so then you have the off element, you have light and then fire, and then you have Sabrina for the extra damage, and you use Bailey for the huge damage cleave, and she's light as well. If you don't have her, then what you do is you pick an attack buffer like Horesvelg, because he colors the off element, and then you use Baelger lead still, and it's still enough.
You're a huge fan of Resvilg.
I am. Every time Specialty comes around, I use him 100%. He's my like #1 most picked monster.
I think he's underrated. I mean, a lot of people forget that he's a solid unit for PvE. Attack buff, speed buff. I mean, he's just great all around. A lot of the
I really
variants
like
are really
that
strong.
topic. You know, kudos to you, IslandGrown.
What's that?
I really like that topic.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Underrated.
I like it.
We're gonna talk about most underrated units.
Yep.
You know?
Every morning when I'm taking a shit, I think of the. Never mind. Let's continue on with what are the stages of Labyrinth you enjoy?
I don't think they're all that fun after that. I mean, no one likes to do Explode. That's definitely one you hate.
Explode is easiest with twins.
I actually like Explode because like
You
I can
like
auto
Explode?
explode with like a whole bunch of revivers, right?
I think you just run 4 twins and
Yeah, it's really easy with twins.
You guys run twins. Okay, all right.
You run Galleon twins and a Lucian, and you're done.
Yeah.
100%
Oh
of
my
the time.
god, that
Yeah,
tells
you
you.
just clear the waves as quick as you can. And it's,
Okay, all
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
but
I think the
it's harder
hardest
to
one.
auto.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's just harder to auto though, because if it derps, then you're gonna lose.
Yeah, I run like 5 revivers, and I just auto all the rescue. Not rescue, the explosion. It's pretty consistent.
The rescue
That's
one
what makes the stage irritated for me. If I can't auto it, I'm probably not going to do it.
Yeah, it must be nice to have Kraka, my friend, to auto, right? Shatter,
No,
defense break,
no.
revive. Must be nice.
You don't. Tyranies, Perna, Eladriel lead, and just like teams like that. No, really, you don't need Kraka.
Oh, just need the other 3 element nat 5s that most majority of players don't have. Not bad.
Okay.
Honestly, though, if you have an Eladriel, almost every stage in Lab is easy for you
Yeah.
if you have Eladriel.
Elad's really good now, especially with the whole team revive. I think it's so nice. It's so nice. It's just so
The
good.
stage I can't auto is the rescue ones. I just go like bombers and then like.
There's a strat. There's a really good strat. Do you have an Ophelia?
Yes.
Just run it on a fast set, and you'll never lose it. You do Ophelia, Jean Verd, and then a damage dealer or something, and you'll never lose.
The rescue?
Yeah.
Okay,
Because either you have threat state up or you have provoke, and then you have Verd for extra turns, so you never lose.
Oh my god, I can't wait. Yes.
Because I ruined my Ophelia for siege
Can't wait
defense,
to
so
auto.
she's 279 on violent, so she never loses lab stages for me.
279 on violent. That's so good.
And she has my fastest set.
That's the slowest set. Come on, dude. Dude, come on.
Yeah, I mean, like she could be like your 5th set, and she'll be good enough.
Yeah.
She's really good for it though. The threat state is actually pretty significant.
Yeah, people
And
forget
then
about
if you
that for PvE. Yeah, threat
the
state's
other
pretty
one
good.
you can do is if you're struggling with it and you don't want to do it on auto, you can use Chandra. Chandra Hug is really, really good as well.
Wow, nice. Thank you.
I never thought to bring Ophelia to that at
I never
all
thought about
because I
Ophelia,
avoid
too.
that stage at all costs.
She also has the defense lead, I believe, for Guild Wars.
All right, so
if you want to go super budget, you can go Fran, Lauren, Verd, Triana. If you want to go super budget, that works as well.
I like
The
how that
only
we can
stage
use
in-
anything now. We can use any other
And you can
units, which is
usually
nice.
auto with
Yeah.
Fran, Triana, Bird.
It's a little bit tricky depending on the stage.
Okay.
Depending on the stage, it can be a little bit trickier, but yeah, most of the times you can auto with that, depending.
So with the quest of people having to do hard, a lot of people have been coming in and asking, like, oh, how do I defeat the hard labyrinth and whatnot? It's any stage, right? Or does it have to be a boss? It's just any stage.
Any stage, not time limit. I don't think time limit works.
Right.
Time
So
limit did not
what
work.
do you think is the easiest one, and how should they approach defeating it?
if you have twins, like you're built into the game where you have twins, you have decent damage dealers, you should probably do an explode stage or a default stage. Most of the time, your best bet is to look for a normal exploration and find something that has monsters that are not super ridiculous. Like there's a couple stages where it's like Halfist Ragdoll,
gross.
right? Like just skip that because you're never beating it easily, right? If you have a Leo, you should automatically just go to a speed limit stage. And if you have a Jean, if you have Jean Vert, you can probably get away with doing rescue stage early.
I mean, I think for people who don't have a large depth of units either, I think if they just cover like the roles of a team, you'll probably get through most any stages. Like pay attention to the elements that you see on the first screen and then get your healer, get your attack bar manipulation, maybe something to bring a little bit of damage, maybe on the bruisery side of things, not something that's going to die in one hit. Like, oh, I brought my Lucian in there for damage, but he died on the first round, like don't do something like that. But if you cover all the roles and just have a solid team, you could pretty much go anywhere with it. But I wouldn't try to overextend the team either.
Yeah,
I think if you have, it seems like the consensus here is you have one good Verd ruined up, you could run it for every stage because it's like you could run it for the slow one, you could run it for the there's another one, the cooldown time one, right?
Yeah, cooldown.
Verd's really good
for that one as well. Yeah.
I mean, where should you not take a Verd Fran Lauren?
Verd Fran Lauren is really OP.
Everywhere.
Yeah, they're good everywhere. Is it maybe like GB10? Like I'm talking like almost every PvE content you can use Fran Verd Lauren in like everything. TOA hard, DB10, NB10. We're talking all the labyrinth stages, like even the dimension hole stages. Like Verd Fran Lauren, man, it kills a lot of those. It's not
just don't run it in bosses. That's the only thing. Like everywhere except for bosses, you can do that.
Everywhere for bosses, yeah.
What bosses? You mean like TOA bosses?
Lab bosses. Lab bosses.
Oh yeah, you can't do it in lab bosses. So let's talk a little bit about the lab bosses. Specifically, what are your strats on defeating some of those? And give some insight here to some of the players.
This is super straightforward.
So wind and fire, Bale.
Okay, except for fire, you need to have an immunity unit.
You need to have immunity.
It's really important.
Exactly right,
one immunity unit, and then you use Belager for both teams.
Yeah. At least one immunity and an extender like Miang. So if you go like Wusa Miang or an overlapping immunity also helps.
If you have no immunity, or if you have no Miang, you can always use Michelle. She's the wind Chloe. Wind to pick you on. Yeah, most people can Fran. Yeah. Most people can use Fran and Belajul or like Wusa or whatever. Another thing is you want to make sure that for the most part, you don't want to be on violent, because if you violent proc, you might fuck your turnover and you might just lose, which happens to me a lot.
Because you are on violent for some of those units, right?
Well, because my Miang's on violent for siege, so like I sometimes I just take the violent rune off, like I take the slot 4 off or something, and it's enough.
Okay. What about you said the wind and the fire? What about the water one? And I guess the main boss, Tartar's boss.
For water, you can either double immunity, you can Katarina, you can Lucian, you can beat it with any like debuff scaling unit, to be honest. But water is pretty easy if you water and fire are really easy if you extend yourself through the immunity. Water is less likely to kill you by damage and more likely to kill you because you didn't kill the focus tower. Fire will kill you because it has a violent and a revenge rune or tower that it can take. And then wind, just never let the rage rune come up. If it kills you with the rage rune, he full heals. So like that's it.
Okay. Yeah, pretty good strategies here. So a lot of you guys that are asking about, how to do the hard stages, we went over those, try to bring in some of those safe units, really keep an eye on the units that are on the front, right? So looking at what elements they are. And, if you, have a hard time with hard autoing, I mean, if you're really not at that stage yet, try to just manual it, treat it like maybe like a super hard TOA hard stage, kill it one time, get your Transcendence Scroll, you know what I'm saying? Just get through that mission, right? Even if you're not at that point yet. And eventually, you use these strategies to potentially auto and get through those labyrinth stages effectively. Any other thoughts on the labyrinth stages you want to share with the community here?
Thank you, Tyler. That was really insightful. Like, I know, like, tomorrow I'm going to go back on the podcast and just check, like, all right, make sure, I get everything right,
Just message me if you have questions about lab stuff.
Yeah, thank you. That's pretty cool.
Oh, do you guys hear that? You can message Tyler anytime for questions. All 7 million.
You can ask me every single day, like everyone does alrery.
No. They need to send you a message and emails, right? Yeah, this message and emails. Yeah.
This is payback for the 100 scrolls thing, isn't it?
But Yeah, I think that's some really good tips and tricks for you guys for Labyrinth. I think Labyrinth is really important, right? For everybody in your guild to contribute, obviously, so you guys can get the highest score, as well as the rewards from Labyrinth are really good, right? Doing it on the daily, using your lanterns, getting the stuff on the daily, that chance to get some good juice, yeah, some runes, some grinds, some gems, as well as the immemorial you get from the killing the Tartarus, as well as the reward you get when Labyrinth finishes, all adds up. Yeah, so make sure you guys are doing Labyrinth. It's tedious, I know. I mean, kind of lazy as well, but
can we say one more thing before we swap topics?
Sure.
Because we didn't talk about the hardest thing to do, which is Tartarus.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Tartarus is generally done easiest with 2 revivers. If you have cheat codes like a Marna, or if you have a cheat code like a Perna or an Eladriel, it makes it a lot easier. If you're like fully free to play teams, you can use things like Brand, you can use Michelle for buff extension, stuff like that. Fran is really good there. Darian's really good. Perna ideally for the damage because you get the heal plus the revive. If you don't, Ayunu is great. Like you just said, Varus is also a very good free-to-play option. Varus has built-in healing, defense scaling damage, defense breaks.
I have a few questions.
Yes.
Could your Perna be on Violent for the Tartarus?
That's not too bad.
Yeah, yes and no. If your runes are weaker, you probably want to have only 1 unit on Violent, usually the revivers. You can deal with the Perna being on Violent because it's built for everything else anyways, so it works. But, it's just one of those things. Like, I auto it, but I also have cheat code team. Like, I have Amarna, Alad, Fran, Darian, Perna, and I just auto the whole thing. Because the units being on Violent... The Fran is actually not on Violent. The Fran's on Revenge. Darian's on Revenge. Amarna's on Violent. Alad's on Violent. Perna's on Violent. Because it's just enough to survive.
Okay, I'm going to try that. Thank you.
If you wanted to play it safer, Ione actually has a shorter cooldown on the revive. And it also stacks more damage every time it revives.
And he defense breaks as well.
Brand's with second.
Brand, that's what it is, yeah.
Brand with second skill. So
Brand
I
is
use
good for revive.
On like a random mess around set, attack or damage attack, and it melts the boss.
Wind Anubis, right?
Wind Anubis, yeah.
There's actually one more unit that's really cool. Atenai is actually really good for Tartarus Hell. The fire... What are they called?
Undine.
Fire Undines?
Yeah.
Fire Undine is really good. She's really good because of the because it's the balance, and then reheal is really awesome.
It's the biggest healer when it comes to Tartarus. If you use the 3rd skill after it does the collapse, the one that lowers all your units down to 1 HP.
Yep.
So it balances all the HP and then boosts everyone up. So it heals the most effectively based on that.
So if you guys are sitting in a position in the game that you guys have a lot of Undines, because other than that, you're really not using those Undines to any other skill ups. Delphoy only takes 1. That's like the most pertinent one. Other than that, you're not building another ones.
As well. Skill 2 is really good, isn't it?
Right. But the main thing is just 1 into the S3. That's the main thing, right? But you just have Undines sitting around. So keep that in mind. Keep the fire one, I guess.
Another super free-to-play option that some people use is they use the Drunken Masters. Drunken Masters are actually not bad, because they have heals plus damage, so they end up being pretty good overall.
I really like the Drunken Masters. The wind one.
And then
the wind one's really good.
There's one other thing that I'm missing that's like fairly decent. I can't remember what it is. There's like, I don't know. There's a couple things that people use that like the super free to play options, super budget options that are like really good for lab. Oh, sorry, it wasn't a unit that I was going to talk about, but looking back now, someone said it in chat. Emma is very good for healing in Tartarus Lab because shields and the defense buff. We talked about the Wind Death Knight. We talked about Wind Arena. We talked about Miang for the extensions. The other thing that I wanted to mention is people always ask, how do I beat Tartarus hard or hell when mini bosses are alive? You cannot beat Tartarus Hell with the fire boss alive because it gets 300% attack. It will murder your whole team. It just doesn't exist. With the wind and the water bosses, it's 300% HP, 300% defense. It's possible, but you're probably going to be doing Tartarus Hell for like 45 minutes to an hour.
Just kill the mini bosses.
It's just not really worth it.
So kill the mini bosses. It's so much simpler.
If you're a guild that can kill the mini bosses, you either kill all the mini bosses and then kill Tartarus after. I think that's more valuable to hit Tartarus on Hell because of the guaranteed immemorial drop than getting a triple S box. Personal opinion on that. You can disagree if you want. That's fine. Your guild can run it however they want. Another guild that I was in for a long time, what they did because they couldn't kill the bosses is they would skip all the bosses and they would go do Tartarus on easy, normal, and hard, and then just clear it in like a double S clear. So, I mean, it's up to you how you want to do it. It's more difficult. I mean, I've opened my fair share of immemorial boxes with no immemorials in them, so I would much rather get a guaranteed immemorial and like an S rank box or an A rank box than not.
I agree.
I think extending on what Tyler said was there was a question asked in chat around how do you get triple S. The easiest way to get there is find Tartarus day one, hit it all on normal. If you have enough hits on it, getting it down to less than half life or close enough if you have enough members, what you do is you either clear it again on normal, with one hit each, and then or what you can do is you can, if you don't get them low enough to be able to do the normal hits per player, you take out all the mini bosses day 2, and then you take Tartarus out on hard or hell mode and on day 2. And that will get you a triple
What
S
Lucky's
again.
telling you is get good and have 30 members in your guild. Because if you have 30 members in your guild, 30 people can do lab.
Easy
Yeah.
clear.
It's not-
Yeah, it's a big
Like an
collaborative
easy
thing
clear.
to try to achieve it. Yeah, definitely. But end of the day, just getting any rewards, getting those boxes, getting it done is big. Gonna get those opportunities. So hopefully this is a little bit more insight for you guys. In the future, maybe we could touch up a little bit more on these Labyrinth stages, but a lot of people asking questions about Labyrinth. I think this is really good, right? Helps you guys out to strategize for each and every type of stage, especially even the bosses, and really strategize with your guild to try to, see if you guys want to push to try to complete these and, actively push people to do it, because in essence, it makes everybody in your guild stronger, right? By being able to get these rewards. So, yeah. All right, moving on to topic number 2. Topic number 2 is, a little bit about the quality of life. Comptos has been doing a lot of updates, changes in the games, updating the game, changing a lot of the UIs and whatnot, changing different areas of game and aspects like arena, and whatnot. What area of the game do you feel Comptos should focus on next? Like, what area do you care about right now that you want Comptos to focus on more? Yeah, more RTAs, right? Guild Wars, Guild Siege, Labyrinth, Arena. Where is it that you want them to focus? Right, new units,
Art.
like what it is. Okay, elaborate.
I want
Your
units
art
to
is
have
great.
better looking faces. Better. No, I'm just kidding. Not at all. I don't really
Your
care.
art is good.
No, the art is really good. I
Transmog
actually
is like OP.
I really like the subtlety of the art in Summoner's War. I'm a huge fan. I know it feels dated to a lot of people, and I don't disagree with them. Summoner's War is an older game. It does look kind of dated, but I think the art's very well done. And it's kept very well to its style and to its time. I think the thing that needs to be focused on the most is Rift Dungeons. Rift Dungeons, excuse my language, fucking suck a lot.
Elaborate. Why? Why do you feel they suck? And what do you want?
Rift
to improve?
Dungeons are 44% inefficient when you farm runes. If you're farming fight runes, you will always overcap on a material and you will waste 44% of something. It is the most inefficient usage of energy in the game by a lot.
It's pretty bad.
And on top of that, there are no easy way to get grinds and gems for those sets at all.
And just as a side note, a little branch. By farming those runes from the rift that Tyler's talking about, keeping those freaking grinds and gems is taking too much goddamn space, man. I need a little bit more space, okay? Like I
I
fucking
sell
get the
all of them
legends.
except for legends.
Yeah, even when I get the legends and it's like filling up, I'm like, I'm holding this shit. I know I'm never gonna be using this though, but I cannot sell it, dude. It's just
I
like
sell every purple gem,
sell-
every purple
Oh.
grind.
Yeah,
I
we're
only
selling
keep
it out,
legends.
Yeah.
it's so bad. It's so bad. Yeah.
What was the last update we got for Rift Dungeons? Was it just making it easier? I think they did.
Yeah, they made it
That was
easier.
like the only
phases.
thing they did. They just made it easier.
Less phases too. Yeah,
Less
there used to be
phases. They went
3
from 3 to
groggies.
2.
Yeah.
Two
3 to 2.
Yeah, 3 to 2 in terms of the groggies.
The thing is that they made it easier, but they didn't make it any better in the long term. Like the only thing that they made it easier for was they made it easier to get a homunculus, but they didn't make it better for the thing that like is necessary in the game now, right? And I say necessary in a very loose term. It's not necessary to run Belaguered Jensen R5, but it is so important if you care about progressing efficiently and you want to play at a similar pace to other people. Also, playing a game where you do R5 and you can't R5 with anyone because everyone's doing BJ5 sucks. Right? Like, how many people come to your streams, guys, and they're like, well, I don't do R5 that much because everyone does BJ5 and like I can't BJ5. It's like, I feel for you, man. Like back then I couldn't do Katarina R5 and everyone's doing Katarina R5. It's like it's hard to find raid partners in that sense, right?
Well, how
Yeah,
many people
good.
queue randomly and have like a BJR5 team up there? Or because to my knowledge, when you queue randomly, it's mostly people just throwing up like an
Regular.
R5 team, not
Yeah,
a
regular.
BJR5.
And a lot
Yeah.
of those people have really bad R5 teams too. So it's not like they can raid with them regularly. And those people also leave
Yeah.
often. They'll do like 3 runs and then leave.
You know what I feel is
Yes.
important though? On top of that, I think it's definitely important, and since we're talking about the guild aspect, that I think a lot of the guilds actually help each other out, right? Depending on what level they are, I think they raid with each other, and I think that's why the guilds are really important for you guys to get into a guild that's respective to your level, right? They'll either help you, build your BJ5, right, or B, they'll have raid teams and be in the same area where you are and be raiding with you. So I think guilds is pretty important if you want to make sure that you're progressing effectively. So
Well,
that's
we
definitely-
encourage community here.
I agree.
So definitely join a community for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So another thing with that is like, if they adjusted the value of farming rift dungeons, maybe people would actually use those rune sets more often.
I agree. If they gave us a more reasonable drop rate, and we know for a fact, right? Contuist is really trying to make people catch up on runes, like in terms of getting better at runes, right? Through, of course, let's be fair, and let's say this, of course, through buying packs, right? Obviously, and of course, through being able to receive them through events and farming, right? Farming runes now, whether you believe it or not, is a lot easier than it was before, right? So if they're trying to push for this, why not push for, easier opportunity to be able to get like accuracy sets, determination sets, right? And maybe even use those sets a little bit more in RT or other contents of the game. I think that'd be nice. Why is it so hard to get these other sets? Why are they so underused? Or actually, they're so underused because they're hard to get, but I think they would be less underused if we had more opportunity to obtain them. What do you guys think?
Absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Like
think
I
the fight sets are pretty good.
I want to progress more in
For every
arena, to be perfectly honest. Like last week I got my highest arena finish. I finished rank 50, and I'm hard capped by how much damage I can get on my Lucian. My Lucian's 247 crit damage with 100 crit plus 2000 and like 30 attack, but I can't get more because it's so hard to get good fight runes, right? And crafting fight runes hurts
It's not
so
efficient.
much.
It's so inefficient.
It's just not it. Nowadays, the only reason I suggest people do fight runes is because if you have a Blager that's good enough for Blager Jansen R5, farm the fight runes, do R5, right? After that, it's like, just don't farm them anymore ever, right? Like, it's so hard to get more damage on the runes because you're looking for max triple rolls or max legend or like high rolled legend runes. And then after that, it's like stacking more fight sets, right? If you can get a really good fight set damage dealer, it becomes a little bit easier, right? Like if you can get a really good double fight will Smoth, right? Mine's on double fight will, but it sucks because the fight runes are just not good enough, right? If you can get those units on double fight sets with will, suddenly opening up that Lucian opportunity becomes better for arena. It's just like, it's one of those pieces of content where I feel like I want to do it because I think the rune sets are good enough, but I also don't want to do it because I know it's just not efficient at all.
It's super inefficient.
Why would I farm those when I could just farm giants?
Do you think it's that they maybe when they released the runes they didn't want to release too much of it because it might be too strong of a rune set? But let's talk a little bit about how strong you think these rune sets are. Yeah, because obviously if we make it easy drop rates and everybody gets it, maybe we're gonna see a huge power creep, right? Because maybe these rune sets are technically better than we thought, right? It gives so much more value, so everybody's just gonna farm this. But are they that strong? I feel like they're not really that strong so far from what I feel. Fight runes are great and everything like that, but they're not overpowering, right? It's not going to be the newest Vile set, right, that people are going to build, or is it?
For
I
RTA,
agree when Tyler says like having so if you, let's say you're Bale for instance, or even a Lucian, if you had your Lucian on a very viable fight set where the runes are actually good, you deal massive damage. But it's so rare to get that. I've heard people, I forget who said they actually would buy packs and they bought fight runes for it, and I forget there was a man, I can't remember who it was, but they said they actually bought fight runes just so they could make these units.
Idiot. Sorry, just coughing. I heard of some people actually buying tolerance runes though, actually, and there were some benefits with that. I mean, I think maybe because I'm not.
You're talking out of your ass right now.
What? Me?
Benefits my ass.
What?
Must be nice to have an Artemil and a Ragdoll for your tolerance runes. Whoever buys those.
Yeah, I'm talking. Yeah, exactly. For those players,
Like
that have,
everyone knows who
exactly.
it is. It's like buying tolerance runes. It's fine if you want to use it, but telling people that it's like an efficient usage of your rune packs, it's like moderately efficient because you have Artemil and Ragdoll.
What we're suggesting right now is actually making his purchases of tolerance packs or anybody that bought tolerance packs or fight packs or whatnot less valuable. The moment that they make these easier to farm, the value comes because they're so hard to get technically, if you think about it, right? But do you think they might be too strong then, or is the set's fine? Because I feel like that's why they're limiting them, right? Or that's why they're making it more difficult to obtain. It's because
I thought you were joking about the tolerance runes. I think resistance.
they've always
is
just been
absolute
bad.
garbage.
No,
And I run
no, I'm
100%
not joking. There were people that bought tolerance runes that find it to work, and it's mostly people with Armel and Ragdoll. So I'm not kidding. You would fall into the category where
I
tolerance
have the
might be
100%
value.
now.
No,
I
but
have
the thing is,
100%.
with the tolerance
It's
runes,
terrible.
right? With the tolerance runes, you're lowering your potential stats.
You're trading some other
it.
stat for
So you're
it,
getting
though, but
more
it's
HP and
generally not
defense
worth it.
because you're in you have tolerance runes, right? We're
But
seeing
what are the counters to Artemil Ragdoll? The counters to Artemil Ragdoll are the units that are
I'll tell you the
irresistible.
count of the Artemil Ragdoll.
Yeah, they're the units that are irresistible. They're the units that always run 85% accuracy. They are the units that don't give a shit if you have resistance. So it's kind of like an irrelevant argument to. I'm sorry. It bothers me that like, I understand it needs to get brought up as a podcast topic. Like, oh, what about the people who do this? It just bothers me because it paints it in a light where buying this is a good idea for most people, or even for like some people. It is a bad idea for almost everybody. I think we can unanimously agree. Okay, even you can't agree to that logic. You know results-based thinking is bad.
I know. I'm messing with you, man. Keep going. That's what I'm here for, bro.
It doesn't feel right sitting with me to hear that, but not call it out. I have to call it out because we all know sitting here that if somebody says, I watched the podcast, they said buying tolerance packs was good. What do you think about it? And they come to me and they're like, I bought some tolerance packs. I didn't feel like I made a big improvement. I'm going to feel really guilty for that because I didn't say anything to tell them, hey, maybe you shouldn't do that.
That's why we're talking about it. No.
I would never recommend that to anybody.
No, never.
Never. No.
If you want to farm tolerance runes, if you want to farm fight runes, okay. That's another story, right? But actively spending money and not putting it into the best bang for your buck, I mean, is not going to be good, right? That's what usually we never want to recommend.
Just think about how sad you get when you're upgrading a rune and it rolls into resistance. Then you'll be like, all right, I won't buy tolerance runes.
The thing is, at the end of the day, you play the game how you want to play the game. If you come back and you say, I bought these runes because I watched the podcast and they said it was a good idea, that's where I feel responsible because I gave bad advice. Right now, I am trying so hard to tell people that we're discussing it for the sake of discussion. We're not discussing it because it's something we suggest to you guys.
Right, I think Chad is actually thinking I'm suggesting to buy tolerance runes.
Well, it's not necessarily chat though. It's like the people that watch YouTube videos that watch the podcast.
I'm not suggesting to buy tolerance runes. I'm literally memeing on some players that buy tolerance runes and fight runes. I always say to buy Vile and Will sets. Even some people that buy Swift sets, I tell them I don't think it's very efficient. Right? I'd rather farm it. But I am literally never telling people to buy tolerance runes, man. I would never recommend you to buy tolerance runes. Yeah.
But I also feel like a game, it's kind of cool when you could figure out like through trial and error. So like there's someone that bought tolerance runes, so.
But that's why I advocate for making the crafting more efficient, right? If the crafting is on par with a decent level of efficiency, people can afford to just try doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they can make a lot of stuff more efficient. Like a lot of the runes in the game are really inefficient, not just like tolerance and stuff, Like, yeah, guard
like
runes.
even the accuracy sets could be decent, right? Accuracy sets could actually be decent. If you run a team of all units that don't need will, for example, right? You're running a fast team. What if you just ran more stats or like more damage and you just ran accuracy, like an accuracy
Are you
offset
talking
on everybody?
about RTA?
Yeah, it is a possibility to try those
I
things
absolutely
in the
don't
late
think
game.
accuracy stats. I mean, accuracy runes could be good in RTA. But
So
yeah.
I think it would be difficult to use. You'd have to use at least 3 of them, right? Because then that's 24% accuracy.
10%.
10% each. They're actually
Okay, 30%. So 30. You probably want to use 3 sets. 3 sets.
Yeah,
But like, and it's just so niche. Like the sets themselves are just so hard to use, and they're so oddly specific. None of them are really that useful for PvE outside of fight sets, which kind of sucks.
Yeah. So PvE,
like,
I think
some people
Go
some people run determination on like Amesity and stuff, right? For Siege and Guild Wars, so they can do extra damage. But it's like outside of that, there's just like why would I use these runes? And then on top of the why would I use these runes, it's like, why would I farm or craft these runes when they all are so hard to farm and craft?
Yeah, I wonder if they have the statistics on this where they can actually see how many crafts are done in what rune type out of like through servers.
It's
Like
mostly
global
fight.
looks
It's
like
mostly fight.
tolerance runes were crafted about 100 times this year. You know what I mean? Like I don't know if they can get those kind of numbers.
They have
It
all
also
the
takes
stats.
forever. That dungeon, the wind, the fire, the light, it takes way longer than just like a Giants run where I could just like replay, you know?
Right.
And the chest comes out, takes forever, and collecting the stuff takes forever. Yeah. But you have to do it because you get re-apps with it, you know?
Yeah.
I actually think though, Thompson, that like accuracy sets. I mean, the two sets I think that are actually valuable. Okay, this is no troll. The accuracy sets and the tolerance sets, I think are actually, if we could somehow, with what we're talking about, be able to get them easier and get them to have the stats of the level of some of these other violent will sets we have, they can actually be put onto certain units that don't need will, right? Obviously, there's certain units that you rune so fast on Vile, you don't need will, right? Sometimes Gannies, sometimes certain units don't need to necessarily be exactly on will because you have it so fast anyway with your team comp, right? By having that accuracy set, you actually can accentuate the total, stats you have on all your units. It's like a nice benefit, right?
100%.
It's 40% accuracy in one rune set, right? For your whole team, 10 each. That's big, right? That's really big.
The problem with that is you're comp based, right?
The monsters that don't need will in RTA is very limited, and they usually excel in like another better set, like Revenge or whatever.
But what I'm saying is that if we can get these runes a little bit easier, if we get them, that means we're going to be getting runes that are like at a high efficiency, and we might be using it as an option now by sticking in those runes, right? It brings the value of it higher if we can get them, but very rarely do we have any of those sets at all in our accounts, like a full set of it where we're going to use it because the runes are just not up to par, right, with the runes that we're using in RTA. So that's what I'm trying to say. So if they make it easier to obtain, I mean, who knows? Maybe in a year, you might get a 30 speed rune in there. You're going to be using it. You might be trying to combine a set because you have those runes, right? So like my Water Monkey King, I had it going first for a while and it had accuracy set on it. Yeah, because it just had like 27 speed and 27 speed. So I had two with 27 speeds. I'm like, why am I not going to use it, right? So I paired them together. Yeah, extra value, right? So I think that's a good topic to bring up. Hopefully they do.
Water Monkey King is also really, really scary not on will, but that's a different subject.
Yeah, true. Depending on what you're up against, but if you're going a certain speed and you're drafting a certain speed, it's a little bit comp oriented, like Tyler said, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So
just the whole topic on accuracy and resistance. I personally feel like it all needs to be revisited by Comtois because my CR is currently unruined inside storage because I refuse to get baited to drafting that unit to doing absolutely nothing in an RTA match.
I use Sierra.
I run 75 accuracy and just nothing, a whole lot of nothing, and then I refuse to get baited again, so I unrune it and I put it in storage, so I have to deal with it. I run 100% on Ada, and he'll find every negative effect on the field he can. And it's like, I don't know. I would like.
At the end of the day, you only have 15%, right? At the end of the day, you only have 15% chance to resist.
I know, but if I have that little red number, I can complain just a little bit though.
Let's talk a little bit about accuracy resistance, the way it works, real quick here. If you want to break it down, a lot of players still always get confused on it, and it looks like I think the theory of accuracy resistance has changed a lot in the last couple of years, but I think it's kind of solidified to where it's at right now. You want to explain a little bit more why you mean 15%, Tyler?
Sure. Okay, this is how resistance works, guys. The resistance formula. This is the chance to resist a debuff. For the sake of this conversation, we are going to assume that the harmful effect rate of the skill is 100%. So something like Hathor skill 3, for example, right? What happens is you take resistance, subtract the accuracy, or your base 15% resistance. Whichever number is higher is your chance to resist. So if you have 100 resist and the enemy has 100 accuracy, you have 15% chance to resist. Which is also why if you have 100 resist and the enemy has 85 accuracy, you also still have 15% chance to resist. So that's why we always say things like accuracy over 85 is useless, right? Accuracy over 85 is completely useless because that 15% is 100% negated. There's nothing you can do with it. So resistance is only really good against people with really low accuracy. So let's say you have 100 resistance and the enemy has 50 accuracy, right? I run 50 accuracy on my Daphnis. I run 50 accuracy on my Barbara, on my Sierra. If you have 100% resistance, I have a 50% chance to land the bomb. That's a pretty good coin flip for me, to be honest. You had to give up 4.5 rolls. Well, more. You had to give up almost 6 rolls, 5.5 rolls to get 100 resist, to get that 50 resistance difference than I did. So I can get 6.5 rolls of other stats to make up the difference. So do you think resistance is worth it at that point? Right?
Well, do you think
that's
resistance is a wasted stat to have in this game?
It's like
Yes.
the reason why it's so bad is because you're playing two probabilities, right? Obviously, we know the probabilities of landing and whatnot, and the equation you just said. But the probabilities you're going to get to play against an opponent with low accuracy or high accuracy or low resistance or high resistance, right? And oftentimes units that are very important and need to land their debuffs are going to be at 85 accuracy. So because of that, it just makes accuracy and resistance kind of like it's just a joke. Right? Literally,
this conversation is actually also akin to why Topa said. I think Topa on his stream said, what was the wording? It was, I don't run high accuracy on my Yunhong because her harmful effect rate is low. Because you don't really need high accuracy to land the strip on Yunhong. Like you'd be better off just picking stats that are guaranteed. Right? Accuracy and resistance are stats that are RNG. There's no guaranteed effect from them. There's no guaranteed benefit from them, right? Because there's a chance they do absolutely nothing. If you take flat defense, flat attack, flat HP, HP percent, those are guaranteed stats. Those stats are fixed. You know exactly what they're going to give you, right? That's why a lot of the time when it's like, oh, do I take resistance off this rune or do I take flat defense? I always say just take the resistance off. Because unless you're ruining that unit to be like 100 resist, it's just not worth it.
Right. And now it's going to be the second question. So you're saying accuracy and resistance is, it doesn't matter. So does that mean I don't need to rune accuracy? Or, hey, this unit, you typically, like Art of Mill, I have an Art of Mill here. Do I not rune resistance then because I don't care? Right, that's the big argument. And I think you still need to rune resistance and you still need to rune accuracy on those units.
So for units like that, you get the resistance on runes, like on your innates and stuff. You don't look for the resistance. You don't look for it and you say, okay, I want this rune to, I want 16% resist on this rune, 16% on this rune, right? You want to maximize your grindable stats first. So you're looking for the speed, the attack, the HP defense, right? Maybe not so much attack on Arda. The attack is very minorly beneficial. But you're looking for those, you're looking for the crit rate, and then you're looking for the crit damage, right? The luxury stats in this case become the resistance and the crit damage, right? If I want more damage or do I want a higher chance to resist?
I disagree with that a little bit in a way where resistance is a stat where you have to pull a lot of resource into because like it's either 100 resistance or 0, right? Like a slot 6 resistance, you're losing out on like 4,000 HP, right? But then a lot of monsters awaken to resistance, and those monsters are better at taking advantage of using the like resistance stat, right? So like for Artemil, it awakens to resistance. So it's like it's weird because it's stuck at like 40% or whatever, and it's more efficient to just max out the resistance. That's why in RTA it helps a lot when you know which monsters awaken to resistance, and because like right now there's a lot of like Mihos and Daphnis and other type of monsters that like strip and sleep and make harmful effects. So now it's also pretty cool to remember all the monsters that are awakens to resistance and try to not hit that. Like so many times I would see like people use Daphnis and they try to kill Harmonia, and they like wish like they're like, oh, how come like the Harmonia resisted? Well, like, don't shoot the Harmonia. I mean, like, the Harmonia awakens to resistance. The chances are really low. It could be max resistance, So,
yeah. Another unit to talk about.
I guess you can. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, you can complain if you're like 80 accuracy or something. Like if you're one of those players who actually has 85 accuracy on your Daphnis, sure, I guess you can complain a little bit because you actually did get 15% in, right? But like if you're like the majority of us who run like the 40 to 60 range accuracy, like Thompson's 100% right. You shouldn't be hitting that unit unless that's like the only choice.
Yeah, that's something that's like the next level thing that players don't think about, right? Oftentimes too, when you're trying to relate your resistance, you're like, I never can resist, right? Or you go, my accuracy, I never land with Sierra from Stoic's example or whatnot. You also got to factor in which targets you're trying to put these on and which targets are hitting you, right? That plays a factor, and it kind of biases your thought process, right? When you're playing out of your 30 wings, right? Maybe it just happens every single time you're trying to put a Sierra bomb, it's always on a unit that typically has really high resistance. So you're gonna get cucked a little bit more often than not, right? It is factors that play into it as well. So it's all probabilities, man. This game's all probabilities, right?
Resistance
Maxing everything.
Resistance is really good on monsters that cleanse, and resistance is really good on monsters that awakens to resistance. Yeah.
Like your Trianas, your Velas, effectively like your support units. I think sometimes it's forgotten that resistance can play a very important part. And sometimes we focus fire on those units and then complain when things don't land. like you use Daphnis into a Triana who's got immunity, and you're thinking, okay, I'm gonna be able to nuke it down, and it resists straight away.
Baited.
And you're like immediately baited because you don't know if it's a crit damage
No,
Triana
but
or a
then
high
you'll see
res
the
Triana.
crit.
No,
For, like,
you know, okay. If this is you're playing RTAs, if it doesn't have well a Triana, it's Nem. If it has well, it's 100 resist. That's all it is.
Really? I don't do that
Not
at all.
always. Not
Yeah.
always. It's
Not-
But,
yeah.
but typically that's
Damage
the mindset when you're going into it and you're playing it. That's what you got to tell yourself. You're like, okay, that has well. That's gonna be a high resist Triana. That's the play in your head as you're thinking, right? You gotta kind of deduce what your opponent's on and what they have, right? That's
My
instantly
Triana is
what you're
Daphnis
putting
bait. I run Daphnis bait.
So if you don't get Nemesis
High
runes, put it on will so you
resistance.
can scare your opponent, even though you have no resist. Yeah. All right. Any other discussions on accuracy resistance? I think this could be a whole nother topic in the future to discuss again.
I have one that we've talked about a lot.
Sure.
So we have innate resistance. Innate resistance starts because that's the 15% base that every unit has. I think, and I've had this conversation, arguments on both sides. I think that if a unit awakens into resistance, it should have that as its innate base. I think units that are resist awakening, units like Seratu, for example, should have 40% innate resistance. So if you use 85% accuracy against it, you have 40% chance to resist.
Zeratu should never have awakening too.
Well, I know, but like that would at least make him less garbage.
Yeah.
Like what about I don't know. Does Savannah have resist awakening?
Yeah.
Right? That would make that
honestly, like it's not that bad, but it is that bad. I don't know.
No. It would make it a little bit better, and I think it would also be more fair for those units.
Would you say what about later
a lot
skills?
of that kind of stuff.
What do you say
about later skills then? What about later skills then? If we're enhancing the limitation due to awakening into resistance, what about later skills affecting that? No.
Leader skills already do more than enough. Leader skills are 5 max rolls. Like resistance and accuracy, leader skills are 5 max rolls. That's more than enough.
Yeah, it's quite a bit in terms of rolls. Yeah, accuracy resistance can be very frustrating in RTA.
Also, for one more topic, I think that innate resistance should not exist in PvE.
What do you mean?
So like giants?
I don't think there's a reason that
giants,
innate resistance should exist in
Dragons?
PvE. Yeah, there's no reason. Why should that exist? To make PvE content harder? To make things inconsistent? I mean, we already have bad AI. Isn't that inconsistent enough?
I guess that's true in PvE content, but I guess when the game was created, right? Because you have to keep in mind that it's not like they just put it in recently, right? It's just been there for a while. It was actually maybe to keep the content so that you'd have to create teams that will work well. It's not too easy to do dungeons. Obviously, they made dungeons a lot easier.
I'm not looking at why they did it in the past though. That's not what I'm looking at.
Lauren always lands armor
So
break.
what you mean to say is you want them to remove the resistant accuracy check for PvE dungeons. You think it's something that
I don't want them to remove the accuracy resistance check. I want them to remove the innate % chance to resist in PvE. So if you are running 55 accuracy in PvE, you are not going to get fucked like everybody does all the time.
So you want to make it more chess-like for PvE, which is okay, I think, for PvE.
Right?
If you hit 55, you will guarantee land defense break.
I think it's fine.
I think that's fair.
I think for PvE, it really doesn't break the game in any way, does it?
Not necessarily, but it makes PvE really easy though. It makes it even easier because now all the rune requirements that you had before, like how much damage, how much speed, how much health, just in case something goes wrong, goes out the window because you can play it more like chess now, right? It's gonna get closer to chess for PvE. Not necessarily a bad thing. I'm just kind of stating it.
So what you do is you stop. In that case, you stop runing for fail saves and you start runing for building the team to be efficient, which I think is okay. Personally, I don't think it makes too much of a significant change.
Tyler, I think that's just something you gotta live with, man. There's such thing as accuracy, resistance, focus runes, endure runes, and it's just like people want to use them,
Well, I mean, you still need accuracy, right? I'm not saying you don't need accuracy anymore. I'm just saying you need enough accuracy that you can't resist it. You know what I mean? So if the boss has 70 resist, you need 70 accuracy and you'll be fine.
Yeah, and you're just saying that for PvE, right? PvP should stay the same,
yeah,
but PvE...
just for PvE, only for PvE.
Yeah,
no PvP content should have that involved. No, nothing in Arena, nothing in Guild Wars.
For PvE,
What'd you say? I missed
Like
that
they
part.
also made a lot of monsters for PvE.
Yeah.
I feel like it would just make them better.
Like
Yeah.
now. I mean, I see the
Like,
point. It
what
would be
it-
nice, but we have so many ways to do
When
PvE
it comes
dungeons
to
now.
like
It's pretty easy
twins
now.
or Lucians or Laurens,
Right.
I mean,
Crow.
I feel like we're already
remove that
spoiled
though
enough.
from PvE. There's no reason to make the game easier. I'll be honest with you. I think we have a spoon-fed community here in this game.
Wait, it doesn't
And
make
there's
any
no
difference
reason-
to us. I'm not saying
Yeah.
we need to make that change for us. I'm saying
No,
that change is nice
no.
for like.
But I'm just saying for anybody like getting into the game, I think we need that loss. I think we need that chance where it's like, oh, this didn't work out, but I had my 55 accuracy inside Giants B10. Like I should be landing my defense breaks and my strips for on the attack buff on the bosses, the immunity as well. Like I get it. They had the accuracy, but they still missed it. But if we won every single match because we hit the numbers, like I understand that, but I think we also need that loss at the same time because it's going to make
I think you can put
shoot
that loss
further
somewhere
to make your
else.
team a little better.
I think you can put that loss somewhere else in the game. That loss comes from Guild Wars. That loss comes from RTA. That loss comes from Arena. That loss comes from fighting other players.
I
You're right.
personally don't feel like it's that impactful anymore. To be honest, like maybe if we go back before pre-Lauren
Yeah.
or pre-Crow,
Yeah.
I think early
I
game
agree with
now it just
Lucky.
makes it like
Okay, Lucky, how many people
Yeah.
come to your stream every time you stream and say, I'm struggling with blank content, and they have the right accuracy. They have decent stats. They're
There's
just getting
something else
unlucky.
wrong,
They're just
though.
Usually it's
repeatedly
not-
getting unlucky.
usually it's not enough accuracy.
But
Or
many
enough
times do people say-
damage, or they don't have the right tuning either.
Well,
There's
the
a
right
lot
tuning,
of other factors
yeah.
for why people
Yeah, there's a
fail.
lot of factors.
in their
A lot of people
farming.
don't realize when they
You're-
have something wrong with their PvE content, the best thing you can do, right? You can ask me all the questions about your dungeon. You can give me all the information. But the best thing you can do is to watch the run. That's a big thing that players don't do anymore. When you watch it, you can see what is missing. You can see what the turn order is. You can see if you're lacking damage or you're too squishy or whatnot. But people don't watch it. They build a team and they click it and they go, oh, I failed. Shit. Why didn't it? Oh, I'm gonna run it again. They don't look at it. Watch the runs.
Yo,
That's like
it's funny you say
easiest
that because
fix.
that happened to me before. I'm
Yeah.
like, yo, how am I failing? And I forgot to target the boss. Oh my god.
Yeah. You gotta watch the runs. It's
Yeah.
a big thing, and you can
It's like
solve
hacking everything,
99% of it. Yep. But continue on. Go ahead, Tyler.
I just don't see how it's like it's not a. I don't think it's in any way is it a bad thing for the game. If anything, I think it grows the game a lot for a lot of people. Right now, we are in a time where a ton of marketing campaigns are going out for Summoner's War.
Hmm.
I don't know if you guys have seen them or not. I'm sure
There's
a lot
some
of
big
you have heard
channels.
about them.
Big
There
channels.
are tons of content creators that are not mobile gamers that are getting sponsored to talk about Summoners War, play Summoners War on their stream. Hey, Summoners War during this time of quarantine is, they're a great company. They're giving out 100 summons for free. Try the game. Here, click this link. If the game is easier to play, more people will play the game, right? If the game is easier to play for PvE content, that makes no difference to the rest of us who can clear the PvE content. There's no takeaway. There's no takeaway to it. Like there's no give and take. It's just give.
I think
Play
you're right,
Summoners
but you
War.
don't want to make it. I know what you're saying. It makes it a lot easier, but at the same time, is it necessary? And I think it's not necessary. That's my point of view, and I think it's already easy enough. If you make
Yep.
it too easy, people might feel too spoon-fed to be able to progress through the game, and you'll hit other hard walls where you'll get.
They still
stuck,
need to.
and
They
then
still
you
need to
won't
find the
step
stats.
right.
They still need.
Lucky.
They still need to find the stats. They still need to build the teams. They still need to understand how compositions work. They still need to understand how debuffs work. It doesn't take anything away from I need to learn how to play the game. It just makes it a little bit less punishing when you fail.
Do you remember back in the day we used to target towers? And the reason we targeted towers is because it was a strategy. It helped us get through it.
I actually never
Nobody's
did
doing
that.
that anymore. New players now are no longer targeting towers. It's mini boss, regular boss.
Okay, that's also not true. Because there are a couple people who do still attack towers because they want to force the content earlier. They want to do the content.
Day, you target towers, bro. Back in my day, I tell you, Zoomers here. Back in my day, we auto. Yeah, no, we don't even auto. You auto, you're a god. Yeah, Baron was a god when he auto DB10 or whatnot. We manual GB10. We manual DB10.
Three
This is
fins?
no meme. This is actually no meme.
Three
We
fins and a
manual.
paw, right?
Three
Yo, I
fins,
would-
3 water imps,
Yes.
man. If you summon the Dark Elemental, which is hard to get, yeah? Dark Elemental. Any LD scroll back in the day. Dark Elemental, you easily cleared GB10. Yeah? Actually had to
No,
manual. Look
I
at this
wanna
autoing
know-
targeting towers. Look at Zoomers over here. Jesus.
I want to know how
Back
many
in the days,
people
I
when
would-
you bring this up, How many
What's
people
that?
when you
I
bring?
would like set up a Giants run, do a full set of squats, re-rack all the weights, and it's almost done. I'm like, oh yeah, my platoon and Ariel got it, man.
Jesus.
You don't remember the what is it? The Lumi, right? The water sulfate.
Lumi,
That's
oh,
auto
God.
DB10.
Oh, yes.
A cases
Ooh.
was standard GB10. They even gave
And
it
then-
as HOH. Yep.
Yeah, and then I
Also-
discovered dots hurt the boss. Oh my god, Orochi is a god, right?
Orochi, oh,
Yeah.
those were the days, my friend.
Guys, remember the
Vikings
days
with
of
dragons.
Amon? The healing bear?
Yes, the
Oh my
crates.
god.
Yeah. Imagine the top of top players that are the only ones that can do R5 regular. Oh my god, dude. You know how hard that dungeon was when it came out? People were trying to figure out how to do R5. It was so crazy for so long. Like, how do we do
Yeah, go
R5?
back to
How do we do
R5.
regular?
Corrosive used to carry me in R5. He
Sierra
could
League,
literally
Sierra
carry for
R5.
2 people by himself. It was great.
Crazy, dude. Crazy. Now all these players coming in, they have everything right there in front of them. Like all the steps, all the stepping stones to literally get past all the PvE content. There ain't no PvE content that you cannot get through. Yeah. And I'm talking speed teams too. Not even talking like slow 5-minute teams coming into the game. Yeah, so
I think
lot has changed in the
Compton is
game.
making farming easier for all of us. It's awesome in a way where there's so much stuff to do in the game. Like I remember it was just like Sunday, right? And I felt so good that I don't have Guild Wars to do. It was like a sigh of relief. It felt great, you know. But there's so much stuff to do in the game, like PvE. If they can make it any easier, it's awesome.
I think Joshin has an amazing point he brought up. He said the less gate-kept content in PvE equals the more players that will participate in Arena, RTA, and Siege. And I think that's kind of what I wanted to get at. I mean, Joshin and I have talked about this in the past on my stream, but the idea that I'm trying to get across is I agree, the early game process is streamlined really well, right? But Thompson brings up a good point. He's like, oh my god, it's Sunday. Like, I don't have to do anything. Like, I don't have to do Guild Wars. There's no Siege. I can just chill and like do what I want. You know, they're taking out the stress of, man, my team's not really working out as well as I wanted to this month. I have to wait till next month. Just making that just ever so slightly easier kind of streamlines the process for players, right?
Yeah.
Like, why do we have to stress over our Giants team failing, right? Why do we have to stress over our whatever? You know, the really big example that I wanted to bring up, and I know this one because it affects you guys as well. If there was no innate resistance in PvE content, Illunia would actually be like viably easy to farm for almost everyone. It would no longer be this content where you either have to farm it at a 3-minute and 30 second team, or you have to take a 1-minute 30 team, a 1-minute 10 team that has like a 95% success rate.
Do we want that though?
Yes.
So we want things to be easy. We don't want any challenges. I think it's nice to have some things that are difficult.
I
right?
would agree.
I don't think we need the
like
challenge
on
in
both
the
sides.
PvE.
I'm on the fence.
Because
with
like when I play a game, I like the trial and error and the process and stuff like that. You know.
I like content to come out that is challenging and fresh. I don't like content that's gonna stay there forever. That's gonna be just hard because you get unlucky.
Well, I don't know. Like, what if they change like the giant boss skills every like week? It'll be weird, right? So I don't know if I do.
No, but I want like an additional content of the game if they're gonna do something
Oh.
like that, right? If they're gonna make content that's hard, I want it to be something that's different, that's changed every 2 weeks or something, right?
I mean, they've changed the Giants and Dragons before. What about if they like vary?
Well, they changed them to make it
every,
easier.
or something like that. You know what I mean? Like they did make it easier for people to break into. But what about if they just changed it up a little bit, just to keep it fresh? Would that be too much?
So branching off that, do you think they should make a stage 11?
No, stop. I'm stopping you right there. No Epic 7.
And then
Go
we
away.
can no. We just make a stage 11, and then we get like extra resources from it. And with the resources, we can make our 6-star runes into 6.5-star runes. You know what I'm saying, Tyler? You know what I'm saying? Wait, that's good. That's what you can do
I
in E7
don't play
right now.
Epic 7, so I have no idea what you guys are talking
Yeah,
about.
it's E7 released new stages
Every week.
They release new stages, and the stages can
So
enhance the
E7
gear.
E7 released. So initially it was like hunt stuff to 10, so like how we have B10s.
Right.
Then they released an 11 a while ago that gave you more gear and drops and stuff, better gear. And now they released 12 and 13. So 13 doesn't drop 5-star gear anymore or 5-star runes. It also drops an extra crafting material, which when you collect enough of them, you can reforge a piece of like a 6-star rune into basically an ancient rune.
Yeah.
So you get higher starting main stat, and you get upgraded substats.
Yeah, I'm just kidding on that. Please don't do that, Come to us.
Yeah.
But he left. He left. He
So,
left.
like,
Top to left. He's fucking done with farming.
It's
He's
over,
like,
guys.
fuck this shit. I farmed the whole time, and you're telling me there's something different? No, I'm done. Look, he's gone,
It's over,
guys.
guys. We lost him.
No, I just
Nah,
turned on his
here.
camera for a second.
Wife's coming in the room.
Nah, that's good. Yeah, so
I
do you
think,
think there'll be an 11? Like, should we have an 11 or keep it the same and just newer content? What do you feel?
Personally, I feel
I
like
think
Compton's already
the
done a great
dimensional
job.
hole and all that other stuff could be, new content as well. I think B10 is enough.
I don't think
What
we
you
need to
saying?
revisit dungeons. I think they're fine with what they have for dungeons. Clearly, they have an area of dimensional hole that they're going in, and they can still build off of dimensional hole. And I think if we take away from dimensional hole and start doing other stuff, and that might take away from the game. And you can see where they're trying to progress, and I'd like them to keep going in that area.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's
I don't want them
mainly
losing
just a
focus.
topic for discussion. I'm not like super
Yeah.
hard pressed on if we
Same.
get
Yeah.
accuracy like resistance checks removed. Mainly because it doesn't affect me, but it is an interesting topic to have, right?
You'll
Where
never
like
know how much 5-star runes drop until you do the
So yeah,
The missions.
right?
Until you do
my
the
God.
missions.
I'm like, whoa, it's like forever. Yeah.
How many do you have to farm in the missions again? It's like
Five.
It's like
Yeah,
40.
it's like
Yeah.
five
Four or five
farm
people
5
to
6-star
complete the
runes. It's like okay, let me just go do a couple runs. Yeah, 5 hours later, like shit, I just
Yeah.
finished. It's so bad, dude. It's so much 5-star runes. It's crazy. So yeah, if they made a stage 11, then no more 5-star runes. I don't know, right? I don't know.
Ah.
That's what you want.
Yeah,
I'd-
that's pretty cool.
I'd personally love to see crafting materials become a passive drop.
we've talked about this so many times.
We have, yeah.
You and I have had
You and I
extensive
have gone back and
conversations about
forth
this
with
too.
I'm just like, going down the path. So what Comtos has been doing really well is they've made it a lot easier for people to break into dungeons a lot faster now, starting today, than it was for us. Let's go back 3 or 4 years, right? When we started off Giants, we were happy or content with 3.5-minute runs. Now it's like, if you're starting off, you're aiming for about 1.5 minutes if you're building the right team straight off the bat, right? So they're making it a lot easier for people to get into the content. We'd spend maybe a month trying to build a team. You can probably build a team within a week now. So they've made it very streamlined, made it very
There's-
easy for people breaking.
There's
into the
someone in
game.
my stream who's finished TOA hard in 14 days.
That's
Yeah, so
insane.
that's
Like,
insane,
that's
right?
wild to me. That is wild. I mean, they've played the game
Kudos.
before, obviously, but that
Yeah.
is some accomplishment of
But
like,
like, if you extrapolate it to a brand new player, a month is very feasible for them. Then, if it's an advanced
Yeah.
player that did it in 14
if
days,
they've played
That's nuts.
games like this, a month is feasible. If they've never played a game like this, I would say 2 months is very fair.
even
2 months is
then,
very fair.
how long did it take you when the game started to clear TOA, man? Like I didn't clear that until like so much later. I was so lazy.
I
was
started
so
late, so I had an
tired.
advantage. I started late
Oh.
and I pulled a Vrad, so I cleared TOA hard in
Sorry.
2 months, I think.
Yeah, so I think they've definitely gone down the right track about making the process a lot quicker to be able to get through content, right? I think they shouldn't go past their model too much because I guess that's the model that they're trying to do, right? Reduce the amount of time it takes people to build a team and run the dungeons to be able to let people catch up, rather than extend the amount of stages that they're building, which means improving the type of gear. I think the path they're going down is pretty good. What I would like to see eventually, I'll bring it up again, is the passive crafting materials, because then it gets you something that you can, it takes the crafting materials out of your drops and it gives you something more guaranteed. And then you can go ahead and craft more runes by doing more dungeon runs. It's more of you can end up with more quantity of crafting materials. And I'm thinking that would help people progress a bit more than the way it is at the moment. Because you end up with crafting materials at the moment and it's like, well, you farm for a day, you can probably craft 10 runes. Whereas, if they made it a bit easier, you got passive drops of crafting materials, you could probably craft maybe 20 or 30. They could lower the amount, but you get a standard amount for every run.
I agree. We've always wanted that, and again, we've had that conversation a lot. It's like if they had a rune slot that could be a runa scroll or a rainbow mon, and then you have one of the crafting material types, and then like mana or unknown scrolls, but like a smaller amount. That would be fun. That'd be great.
So do you feel like, in general, no matter how, what way they do to try to increase the rune rates or the chances for us to get better runes, do you feel that's kind of good? I feel it's kind of good because it kind of pushes a lot of the beginners and the mid game and even the early late game players to like closer to those end game players, right? Because even though the end game players get the same opportunity, like their plateau is really like, it's very hard for them to get many upgrades, right? Like a lot of us here, Thompson, Tyler, like it takes a while to get like an upgrade, you know what I'm saying? So it pulls people closer, right? And makes it more competitive. I don't know.
So it's kind of the right idea, but the end conclusion's a little bit off. It does help push people closer, but not to where you said it does. It doesn't push people closer to end game. It actually pushes people closer to mid game.
No, but
Because
it
what
pushes the
happens
mid game
is
players
it-
closer to end game too, because it's it pushes
It
everybody.
doesn't make that much
respectively,
of a
right?
significant difference to the mid game players. It's
Really?
beneficial, but you're getting a couple extra chances at like a lot of luck, right? You still need a ton of luck. The thing is, as the early game players, is you don't really need luck to get upgrades. You just get upgrades as you go. Once you start to approach that portion where like max rolled blue runes on 135s are no longer that beneficial for you, that's when you start to plateau really hard, right? So if we were to look at it like in stages, like if this is the early game, right, then like my glasses level is like the mid game, and then the end game's like up here. It basically just helps this portion not feel as long, and it's more like a this, and then you just stop here. You still stop in the same place.
But I just said, like, if you have more opportunities to get more runes and whatnot, more chances, right? More opportunities. I think.
Yeah,
I think
so,
it proportionally. It
yes, you
propels
get more
everybody.
chances, but the chance is so low that it's not as beneficial as it sounds, right? You think because you're getting more chances, it's going to work out that you're going to be pushing those players into the end game, but there is honestly the hard wall to it. The hard wall is like,
yeah, but whatever the hard wall is, whatever percentage that you're increasing the rates is just going to increase their chances of pushing up. I'm talking to the general pool, right? You're talking like
maybe I misinterpreted what you
right?
said, because
Yeah,
what I
yeah,
thought
right.
you were saying, I thought you were saying that it pushes the mid game players closer to end game, and I really think it makes no difference to the mid game players. I think what it does is it pushes the early game players to mid game and then leaves them there, and that's it.
Really, mid game players don't get close to end game with more chances of runes and more resources. I don't understand.
No, I think what Tyler's trying to say is it gets them there quicker. I think there is going to be some sort of nominal increase, but it's not going to be as noticeable as it is from early to mid compared to mid to
Oh
late.
yeah, it's proportionally. Like early to mid is going to be the
Yeah,
big.
Yeah, but
it's always gonna be
the way
proportional.
you're portraying it
Yeah.
to the rest of it, to me at least, and
Uh-huh.
I feel like Lucky is seeing the same thing. Is that
Right,
you're saying that
understand.
it should be easier than it realistically is. Like you're saying, because we're giving you more chances, you should be able to push towards the end game. It's kind of like a false hope thing, and it doesn't really work out that way. Getting past that line is really, really hard, right? It does give you more chances,
I think also maybe
but it's
depends on
such
your
a
definition.
negligible amount that that's why I'm like, there is that wall there, right?
I
Okay,
guess.
if I told you your chance to get to G1 is
Oh, I don't
0.001%,
consider G1
and I
as the late
multiplied
game,
it by
though.
yeah, no, arbitrarily,
right.
and I said 0.01, right? And I multiplied it by 50 times. Your chance is now 0.5%. It took that huge improvement difference, like 50 times, like 50 times more than what you're getting now.
But,
And that's
but
a
the thing
huge
is, it's
improvement,
arbitrary
right?
numbers, so 50 times means nothing technically, right?
Realistically, in this case, you're probably getting like maybe twice as much the chance, and the chance is already so low to start with. To get those improvements, right? To get that triple roll, to get that 22 speed, to get that 12 speed, 20 crit rate, stuff like that.
I don't know. I feel like you're like looking at things a little bit too micro. I'm looking at a lot more macro, like in the general range of things in improvements. I feel like mid game players do get a lot closer to the late game, but obviously it depends on the percentage of.
Okay, so
the drops.
define mid game and late game then. I need to know what you actually consider those two things to be.
That's the difference in definition as well, right? Late game, I consider you do all PvE content. You're doing speed dungeon runs, and you're like in the Conqueror level, right? You're in a solid guild, siege guild, and you're in the Conqueror level. You're talking like in the range from like C2, C3. I consider that late game. If you're getting in C2, C3 and RTA, you're doing really good, right? So to get there, I think it's quite an achievement for most players, right? G1, you're talking a very small percentage of the total players in the entirety of the game, right? That's a little bit more unfeasible to obtain, right? But anything C2, C3, I think people should be very.
Oh, that's the goal. That's the goal
proud.
for most people, though. The goal, the post line is that G1. Right? Most players want to get that G1 at least once. That's why I consider that
That's
the end game.
that's
Right? When you reach that goal, you're at the end game.
Okay. If you're talking about G1, then yeah.
Late game, what IslandGrown just said. I consider endgame someone who's able to complete all content, and right now their one goal is to be top arena, top guild wars, top siege, top RTA. That progression into there, that is endgame. Where their only goal is to just better their units and better their runes.
Because
That's
prospectively, honestly, even though the G1 is so big, G1, G2, G3, and Legend, I consider G1 like League of Legends relative to like Grandmaster, man. That's a small percentage of players gonna be Grandmaster Challenger, I consider more Diamond, like Stoic is saying. Continue on, my bad, Stoic.
No. I mean, that's kind of it. I mean, I also think someone who can be considered endgame is maybe, they are Guardian inside guild content and they're trying to push in arena, but endgame doesn't mean like you have to be guardian rank. I don't think endgame is you can complete all of PvE content, but you may not have possibly the skill to get into guardian rank and RTA. You could be a C3 endgame player. I don't see why C3 RTA endgame isn't a thing, because your endgame is your maximum. You done all PvE content's done, but PvP, it's to the best of your ability. So if it's C3 arena, it's C3 arena. You don't need to do arena to progress to become, anything. That's just a personal goal in arena. And then RTA is the exact same thing. And you can almost say the same thing about Guild Wars.
Right. And I think relative to that, now that we kind of laid that down, what Tyler's saying, you're technically right as well, right? If you're considering a G1, then yeah. For people, even with the increases of the drop rates and stuff, you think you're going to get the G1. Yeah, G1 is the bigger stretch. So I think that was misunderstanding there.
Even if you just look at it from like raw like rune standards, like percentage of rolls, efficiency percentage, etc., you're not significantly changing the amount of runes people are going to get that are triple, like the upper level triple rolls and higher. It's such a small amount that you're improving it by adding this much, because what they do is if they increase the amount of runes you can craft, like by giving rune drops, they're also going to diminish the amount of like rune materials you get. So it's going to balance out to something very similar to what it currently is, maybe just a little bit more. The only thing it gives you is it gives you more chances at specific sets that you're looking for. There's no actual there's not going to be a huge difference between the number of runes you get.
I feel like that's also a problem in the game where like the difference between like Tyler and Tomato is probably just because Tomato has like 50 more violence sets and like 60 more swift sets, right?
Yep.
It's so weird how like fatal sets have no use in the game, almost no use, right?
Yeah.
Energy and other stuff. So it's like that's why you need to craft so much. But also, if they buff like runes, it'll make PvE easier as well. So I don't like. Some of these rune sets are really bad, and it just sucks that you're just chasing violent, swift, or will. Sometimes revenge, and you're there. But yeah,
I like what you said, because like that goes back to what we said about like making new rune sets. Like I feel like two of the more PvP oriented rune sets.
That actually, I want them to just buff the rune sets that they already have. You
wouldn't want to see more? I would want to see more, because I feel like some of the rune sets like Fatal and stuff, even though they're not used for PvP, they're there for other stats in other areas of the game, right? Not everything
I don't know,
for
because like they're just rage, and rage is just clearly better, right?
So the thing is that what marginal amount of rage, like let's say crit damage, do you need for you to say, hey, I can use this for RTA now? I don't think there's any reasonable amount that you could obtain from those stats that would make you ever want to go over Violence, Swift, or Despair. So what I'm saying is, if you want some things in RTA, you need new rune sets.
I don't think anyone will complain if you like buff Fatal for like extra like 10%.
Okay, Fatal is 200%, like a 100% attack.
Or like energy rune extra 5%. Or like, just tweak the numbers little by little, because right now some of these runes.
I agree with that.
And the only difference between me and you and me and other people, it'll really shake up the meta. It'll make PvE easier. And
but I mean, you're correlating it to PvP, right? RTA. I don't think that changes anything for RTA. You're still gonna go in well.
It definitely does, because like me and Lucky might be the same. Like me and Lucky might be the same, but I have like 50 more violence sets than him,
right?
And has like sets of Fatal or sets of like guard runes that he doesn't use, because you could only use violent and swift and will. Does that make sense?
The other consideration that we're talking about here, Brian, is like what if you have like a violent guard, like a violent guard barber or something, or like a violent blade barber, right? It suddenly that two set, that the extra stats you gain from it might actually be worth more than putting it on a nemesis set or putting it on a will set or on those things. If you get that extra little bit of stat, does it become good enough that it's worth using instead of these super standard meta sets? Swift, 25% speed, violent, 22% chance to proc, will, 1 turn immunity. Do these other sets that we rarely ever see in RTA, unless you need an extreme stat difference, does that extreme stat difference like close because you're buffing them? Is it enough?
I mean, I guess if you get a little bit more stats, okay. So I can see it there. It's a little bit more, but like Fatal, like some of the sets are just unusable, man. You're only two setters I think might be viable, but you're talking any 4 setters, man. You're not bringing any 4 setters, obviously, other than Swift, Despair. And
it might even make them better in PvE, right? Or even
right,
like
but that's not the argument is PvP, right? PvE obviously.
Let me correct myself. That's not what I meant to say. I meant to say non-RTA PvP. Like in Arena, I don't use Fatal or Rage Lucians except for the Rage Lucian with 0 speed because I would rather use a Swift set 90% of the time. I rolled 2 Fatal runes that are like 110% full damage efficiency, and they're literally just worse than Swift runes because I can't reach 230 speed on a Lucian, so it's not worth it.
Yo,
right?
Fatal is the best offset ever. It's just like you just like put it there, 29 speed. That's my you go.
But
you
it's,
know?
it's like when am I going to use these like 110, 115% efficient sets? These are crit damage sets too. Like these are sets that have stats that are technically less efficient when you look at the overall grind pool for them. Like I don't use my Fatal sets because Swift sets are so much better. Right? And Rage set is so much better for full damage because there's so many sources of gaining attack, right? There's fight sets, there's attack leader skill, there's attack buff. Like crit damage is just so much better than like the Rage set is so much better than the Fatal set in like almost every case when you look at it, not even like exact same stat lines, but like when they're within like a 10% margin, the crit damage is better. Like that's ridiculous.
The crit damage is better, but in the general sense, I mean, for most players, Fatal is going to be better just because you're going to get it at a higher drop rate. So Fatal runes will just always be better on players' accounts. So it's just not feasible, right? For them to be rooting on Rage. So it's kind of depicting
because they have to roll right as well.
No, because you're kind of depicting it as, Rage is better. So now, hopefully players don't get the wrong interpretation to ruin things on Rage.
I'm saying at the end, right? at the end game, when you're looking at like really, really high end, you're trying to actually like min-max the small differences. Rage is notably better.
Okay, I agree there. Fair enough.
Right, and the reason for that is because I feel like the other sets just don't give enough.
But the thing is that should it be better though, considering it's the lowest drop rate? That's why Violent is better and Despair potentially is better and more valuable because it's the lowest drop rate in NB10.
I'm pretty sure Rage drop rate to Fatal is very similar because they're 4 sets.
No, it's harder to get Despair. It's harder to get Violent and it's harder to get Rage. It's statistically known that those are the lowest drop rates.
It's not that much different.
It's decent enough, and for the fact that GB10's the easiest dungeon, NB10's the hardest dungeon, right? And the run times are a lot more significant. I think Rage is actually harder to get, statistics-wise, and just, on majority of players' accounts-wise, on what you're farming.
I just brought up that topic because we're talking about, dropping more crafting pieces, but I don't think we need to drop more crafting pieces if we buff all the other type of runes where, I got an energy rune, kind of excited to roll it, Now I get, who here, gets an energy rune 4 speed, and you're not too excited to, upgrade it,
I do want to talk a little bit on pieces coming out of dungeons.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What I hate the most is when Comptos will introduce something and then not actually give a point for it. Giants B10 records or Dragon's Necro, where your finish time means something. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean anything. Like you see the people at first, second, third, and all of that. I would like to see something where, let's say you ran Giants a certain amount of times this week. For running Giants a certain amount of time, you would receive 500 of the green. I forget what the green material is called, but whatever that green material is called, you would get that a week, and that's for your actual farming of Giants. Now, if you make it to that list in first, second, third, it goes into your mail. Let's say first you get 1,000 pieces, goes into your mail. So now you're going to be like, all right, let me craft, make room for it, throw it in there in case people are sitting there with their 99999 of green pieces. But to bring this more into your account and to encourage more dungeon farming. So get in your Giants, get your green material, get in your Dragons, get your red material, get in your Necro, get your purple material. And this should be a weekly thing. And then add a purpose at the same time to everyone making that list. So make a fast Dragons, Giants, and Necro so that you can get that large amount of it. So don't make it super you have to be good to get this material, making it onto the list. But if you farmed it enough in a week, that they should receive something back. And it goes to the mailbox, not into the rune place, because some people are full.
I think a lot of people quit this game, Stoic, because of the competitive aspect of this game. Imagine you're I'm gonna play Summoner's War, I'll be the best, right? And then you end up playing Summoner's War, you're like, man, I suck at this game, I'm freaking quit. And if you make a list like that, not only it only applies to 3 people or 100 people or 50 people or whoever that makes it on the list, whatever, right? I get it. I get what you mean. I'm just saying, imagine you can't make it on the list. I think it's just gonna force people to quit,
I kind of feel the same.
Yeah, that shouldn't force anybody to quit though. Just because your Giants B10 time isn't faster than someone else, they're getting more material than you are, but this is in addition to the game. You know what I mean? They're only giving you more for farming.
Other people are getting
to farm Giants.
People are getting the addition, and you're kind of getting the subtraction, right? And I'm just saying, like, I think a lot of people just like relaxing and farming, and versus
Well, they
like
can relax and farm all they want.
when you make farming.
Enough a week, they receive something back. There's only
Yeah.
give here. Nothing's being
No,
taken away.
I get it.
I
It's just
kind of feel
when
like
you make- yeah. What's up, Lucky?
I feel like sorry. I just feel like if you make PVE an area for competition, it kind of takes it away from the casual aspect. I think
So what
farming
would
should
you
be
be adding that
casual.
list?
I don't know if you're chasing speed times, and that's a whole different story. I don't know. I know a few people are very keen on always chasing the damage scores and Rift Beasts, or chasing the fastest time in like giants and dragons or whatever. I don't think that should be the focal point. I think it should be like that's the casual aspect of the game. I think if you start making everything too competitive, then there's a lot more added pressure to try to be the best in everything.
That's not the idea. The idea isn't to make it competitive, though. It's just for us to receive more material. And some people, do want to be competitive. That's why we have someone in first, second, third, and they have made that list because they chose to be competitive in that area. You know what I mean?
But would it be the same people every week then that would potentially be winning that?
Yes,
Maybe.
maybe
It will be
always
to get more.
So
crafting
kind of taking from your idea, Stoic, I kind of like it though. So something that they haven't really put in the game is maybe another early game or mid game kind of mission where you hit a certain time, right? And you get some rewards, maybe some pieces, some rune materials for hitting the time. First time hitting 2 minutes, first time hitting 1 minute, first time hitting 30 seconds. You know what I mean? And that might make it more fun as well. I think that would be a good idea. Kind of stemming off of your reward thing with times. I think that could be something that people strive to do, right? Some kind of PvE goal that they want to achieve. I like that.
I even thought of like more of like how we have that
Ryan.
refund event right now.
Wait.
Do they have that already?
Hold on 1 second. This is important.
Someone said they have that already.
They do have those already.
Oh, okay. Well, what is it currently? Because I've never seen it. I've never
It's
seen
like
it
one
myself.
it's like one mystic scroll.
Oh.
But
No, those are achievement rewards. And
They're
they're
right,
shit.
yeah,
Wait, are they
They're
actually 2
actually-
minutes, 1
yeah.
minute, 30 seconds?
1 minute.
No, it's like 1 minute, I believe, for each one, right?
oh, but that's just a one-time thing, though. Like you just
We're
get that.
talking about one-time thing, bro.
This is supposed to be an incentive for you to get in your giants, your dragons, and your necro. Get it in to get the material back. And then
So
just
are you setting a
advantage of something
leaderboard,
that
or are
they've
you
already
saying every
introduced in
week
the
if
game
people
and
get
add
below
something to it?
blank? Because I mean, when you put this in practice with what you've said so far, Ryuji just gets everything every week.
Yeah.
Like, who else is gonna get it ever? Like Billy is literally gonna get it every single week.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
hasn't hurt yet, so why wouldn't he get it?
It's like free. I like free stuff.
Mm.
Yeah, but
I mean, that's a tough situation.
we,
but
we,
I mean, he
it's
chooses
fine.
to.
Yeah,
to
I
be
mean,
number
you
one
throw
in that
something on the
area.
board, right?
Like,
You throw
is he-
something on
is he
the board.
running
It's
that
not that he
same team every
chooses to be
time,
number
though?
one in that area. He has a unit that gives
does.
him an incredible advantage, and he doesn't have to take his PvP runes away from it.
Oh my
Okay.
god.
Like, it's so ridiculously imbalanced for that specific idea. If anything, it should be like, if you cross this, you get the reward. Like everybody can get the reward if they get that.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
It,
think
it
that's
shouldn't
what
be a
I-
leaderboard thing. It should not be a leader. The leaderboard should be cosmetic, like TOA, right? Like we
But
did
you
1,
enjoy
2, and 3 in
something
TOA.
cosmetic like that, where there's no actual meaning to it.
Maybe if
There
it's
is
a
a meaning
weekly
to
thing,
it.
maybe
The
then
cosmetic aspect of it, the leaderboard, is the meaning to it. I can literally say I got TOA rank 2 twice in a row, and I love that. I love being able to have that, even though it doesn't really mean anything, right?
I think it should
Like,
show up.
There's
in
no
your
actual
record
meaning
book.
to it, but I still like having it.
I think it should show
Okay.
up in your record book as well as I think the thing that Thompson, whatever Thompson has in the chat, with the name thing when he types in the chat.
Yeah.
I think they should have that for the monthly. Maybe they rotate the record board like Stoic's saying, and they get some kind of thing like that to be able to say, hey, because Stoic's saying that it's not meaningful enough to be on the board. But if you can talk in your channel 65 or whatever your normal channel is, and you got that cool thing
Yeah.
next to your name, that's a little bit more meaningful, right? That's a little bit more flex, right?
All
Stoic
I
want
want
to
to see
flex
is
at
when people
everybody.
put in hard work, and I know Ryujin's not putting in the hardest of work because he's got a trick unit. But I'm saying if you're putting in the hard work to do something, I feel like you should be rewarded. And I think people who make the list for TOA should be receiving something. I don't know what. Stones. Anything.
But this is why we said, like, what if it's just, if you cross the threshold, you get a reward, and then you can have a cosmetic leaderboard. It's the best of both worlds, right?
Yep.
It's balanced to all players because it gives everyone the chance to get something, and everyone knows exactly what they're going to get if they
10K
cross
mana.
that line, right? So let's say realistic, it's like, okay, this week's challenge is everyone needs to get a Kairos B10 team, one of the main 3, under 1 minute, right? If you reach the under 1 minute, you're guaranteed to get
10K
3
mana.
Mystic Scrolls. What did you just say?
10K mana.
All right,
And
somebody get
100
a new host.
I know it's close.
We're done with this guy.
to level up. From level
Yo, hey,
15.
we
Hey
gotta
man,
talk about
that's
the
one
underrated-
wish, bro. That's one wish, bro.
We gotta talk about the underrated units, man. I want
Wait, can we go? Wait, before we finish off on the rune topic, I wanted to just touch base on what Thompson was mentioning before. So around making 2 sets or some of the 4 sets a bit more feasible. I think they need to find it to a point where they're not broken, but they're being used a bit more. So like energy sets right now, they're what 15% HP more. Would they be busted if they gave 25% HP for a set? You know, Fatal's 40% attack. What about if that was 50? Would that be too busted? I think it's trying to find the right balance to be able to get them into the game, because right now we're not using them in RTA, but if they gave a little bit more, would you use them in RTA? And I think that's what Thompson was trying to say before, right? Trying to get them into it. I think I agree with that 100%.
Easier too, you know. And
Yeah.
we were all talking about making PvE easier. It just sucks that, like, imagine you're a newcomer and you're just like farming and you get really good blade runes, really good like energy runes or fatal runes, and everyone else is getting really good like violent runes or whatever, and you just feel bad, you know.
Yeah. Okay. The podcast going a little bit long today, but I don't mind it as long as you guys have time. I don't mind it at all.
I'm available
Fine
for
with
this
me.
one.
Okay. All right. Sounds like a 6-hour podcast to me. Let me just.
Let's do it. I don't need to stream tonight, guys. We don't need to stream. Let's do it. Let's podcast all
Okay,
night.
well, let's continue on. There's one more topic that might spark some interest and discussion. I know Thompson's kind of excited. He was talking about it earlier that he wanted to talk about. It is topic number 3. It's a little bit of a change, but what are some of the most underrated units in the game? Now, we talk about some, but out of all the units, what are some of the most underrated units, totally not used, units with misconceptions that they're really bad? Where and how are they used? Yeah, go ahead and bring them up. Go ahead, Thompson. You can lead this.
I kind of made a list of
Let's go.
underrated units from
Okay.
elements, but for me, water, I think the top 3 underrated would be Samath, Varad, and Tyron. Are they underrated? Are they underused? Because like with
We're talking RTA specifically, right?
yeah, well, I that's all I talk about. But
Okay, RTA specifically, chat. Okay, because
yeah.
when you said Varad, chat was like, hey. But okay, yeah, RTA specifically.
And I try to keep it like free to play, but like, you know, Tyron especially if people are running a lot of like Verds and Antares, it's not that bad, you know. And now with the extra attack bar pushback and the slow, it could get stuff done. Yeah, for water. Samath, really underrated speedly. That also pretty good.
Yeah, I think a lot of people had like a pocket pick Samath for a while, but I'm seeing it being used a lot more now. Like,
Okay,
yeah.
not underrated anymore. Okay,
no,
cool.
people are using it more, but I think it is underrated. Like people forget that it's a 33% lead.
Yeah.
People usually correlate in their head Samath Arena. You know what I mean? Like there's that slight correlation of Samath Arena defense and lead, but it's actually a really, really good speed lead. Yeah, we're talking about RTA specifically.
The tricky part with Samath is the variety of runes you could use, from despair to
Rage.
fatal to rage, you know, to violent,
Yeah.
you know, swift, right? Yeah, so that fire.
I think it's starting to become a bit more prevalent now as well, because a lot more people that are cleaving are running a more fire heavy based cleave. So
Yeah.
running him as a 33 speed lead into that makes it a bit easier to
good.
take him on. He's
Yeah.
so good into it. I actually run mine up to counter those cleaves, because not many people are picking Lucians in those cleaves. They're going Raki, Garo into those sort of lineups to be able to cleave. So
yes,
Samath
keep
is
using your
expected to
fire
more
units.
Even that second skill is pretty OP. The overwhelm, it does a lot of damage, you know,
Yeah.
resets cooldown for 1 turn. Yeah.
I agree. Keep drafting your fire units. Pepe laugh.
Uh,
You know what's good against that?
Those units aren't underrated. They're really good.
I love
Yeah.
seeing fire units, my friend, in RTA. Yeah, those are the best units to see. But any other
fire
units?
I feel like there's a few of them, but the top 2 that pops out of my head for RTA is Harmonia and Meiho Wang. Right? How about you guys?
I don't that are underrated.
Underrated, yeah.
I think
Meiho
Meiho
Wang
is
is
trash.
fine.
I think Meiho is trash.
Meiho.
There we go. There's an underrated right there.
No, I mean,
called it out.
it's you're not like slamming it in slot 1, but if you see like, okay, Hathor and then Oki, it's like really easily you think about, oh, Meiho Wang's really good there, you know?
The only time I think Meiho Wang is good is if you have a chroma. You can pick Meiho Wang and a chroma together, and then it's hard. I think other than
would
that,
like
it's
to say-
difficult.
I don't know. Yeah, it's really good with Chroma, obviously, in that auto team, but I would like to say that it's really hard to get him to 50% resistance to have him maximize that passive. It's really, really hard because I tried and I couldn't.
The thing that baffles me the most about Fire Monkey King is, and I think this is a pretty blanket statement when I say this, almost every speed awakened unit is good. Meiho Wong is like not good, even though he's speed awakened, and it feels bad for him. Like his passive just feels underwhelming, right? If he couldn't be attack broken, I think he'd be a lot better. If you couldn't attack break him, he'd be great.
This speed awakening unit, I think that's very underrated too. It's called Jameyer. I think he's very underrated. Yeah. That second skill does a lot of damage, you know?
It's more
based
consistent
on
too.
HP.
Yeah, it's a lot more consistent as well now.
Cleanse. Yeah.
Yeah, I tried on crit damage, man, with some attack in there. Oh man, that thing hurts. It hits, man.
Like 20, 30,000 damage.
Yeah, people look at Jameer and you're like, oh, okay, he's just that reset unit. That's all he's gonna do. But no, that S2, man, it hurts. It hurts. It's pretty damn hard. I agree. What about Albert and stuff? Abelio. A lot of people still. I mean, obviously we're seeing it there.
Underrated anymore. I think everyone.
People are underrating it.
I think Abelio and Sekhmet are no longer underrated. People use them.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think it's underrated.
Yeah, they're starting to be noticed a lot more.
The way I think about Abelio is kind of like Triana. If they can't one shot you, you know, it's pretty decent. You know,
that's why I'm trying to bring
it's really
it up.
Good into Mina too.
Majority of the population think they're still really bad. So that's why let's discuss them more and tell them where they can use it and how good it is.
When it turned into Bear, that second skill is like attack multiplier of 800. You know, so you're dead. It just swipes you and you're dead. You know. Abuelo is really good into like some of these one shot units. Really good into AoE like Rika. Pretty good into Rika.
Really good into Mina. It's really good into Mina too.
Really good into Mina, yeah. But if Mina does the job, then it's not that good.
Well, it's good because he one shots her afterwards as well. So it's like either you get you don't kill. So if you go like if you go Abelio Triana, and then whatever unit is probably going to die to the Miho, you can just leave it up, right? Because they either have to ban the Abelio and deal with it, or they ban the Triana and they have to deal with it either way.
It just really depends on the draft, but I really like Abelio more in a draft where they're doing like AoE damage and you could boost everybody back up. But like Triana would be better in that case, in my opinion, against Mina.
Hey, how fun do you think Lightman would be with a little bit more protection now with Abelio in there?
It's good. It's good.
And I never thought about that. Because the original fun stuff that I used was like Vanessa Triana, right? Of course with Light Vamp. It's kind of crazy, kind of toxic, got defense break and stuff. But maybe Abelio is one because I have one. Just
do you have a Tyrannus yet?
No, I don't have one. Or else I'd bring.
If you get Tyrannus, you go Vanessa, Triana, Tyrannus, Julian, and Barbara, and people are just sad.
Yeah, there's so much damage still. Like even if they ban the Julian, I don't mind, dude. Yeah.
You ban the speed lead, you ban the Julian, you ban the Barbara, you ban what do you ban? There's just so many annoying things.
I don't know about that, IslandGrown. Like you're kind of begging to.
Well, I'm playing like kind of trying to play turn one there. If not, I'm just gonna get controlled. You know what I mean? That's the only issue with that.
Yeah.
That's a big issue with that. I see it.
I saw a Barbo in chat earlier. What about succubuses?
Akia. Yeah, I said Akia earlier. That's very low. Yeah.
I don't think she's that good.
She's okay. Yeah, they bring a lot of like monsters without passives. They're pretty good, you know. I mean, like, you know.
I mean, I'm struggling with Hathor Akia. I got hit with that so many times, and I've been struggling with it.
I think Arya is actually not bad though.
Arya, what did they change on her?
They made her AoE. So her skill 3 used to be AoE sleep, AoE slow, AoE glancing, and now it has AoE sleep too.
I have Arya.
It's the slow debuff that I think. Like the slow plus the sleep is actually not bad.
No, I'll tell you this for sure. Akia is better than light. Akia is better than the light version. It is because of the 2 turns, right? Can't buy them proc out of that.
Yeah, it's good. It's harder to. I think it's harder to use because it's not as consistent.
And it doesn't have a strip, right? I mean, it feels so good when you strip and put armor break on them with Akia. It's like, whoa, I hit the jackpot.
What about Suckmed? So what are people using Suckmed against? Because I know some of us know
Tyrannus.
Listen, Sekhmet, honestly, I think now there was something wrong with that third skill. You know, all the accuracy in the world. You run on 100 and you would see fails. The most fails I got in a row, and when I first pulled her, I put the 11 Devilmon into her, and I thought it was the worst thing ever. 10 turns on skill 3. 10 turns.
Isn't that a good thing though?
Failed. Yeah, well, you have about damage.
Up the whole time for 10 turns on wind units, on fire units. I refused to go hit a water unit because I stayed on the wind and the fire, and 10 turns in a row. I got nothing. And all of a sudden, last season, she's changed.
Did you
Yeah.
have her on crit damage?
She's
I
utilized for
didn't have
the
her on
damage though.
damage.
Then of course she does nothing. You need her on crit damage. So that way when you
gotta-
reset,
I wanted to
when it
let
resets, you do more
The strip
damage on the second
resets. The
turn.
strip resets is all I was looking for. Okay, and that's all I use it for now. Okay,
That's-
all I
that's-
use
it
for
doesn't-
strip resets right now. Okay, that's just how I have her.
Sometimes you'll
What
strip
I'm
it, but you
claiming
don't
right
use
now,
it.
I do believe they coded that third skill wrong. It was not working as intended, not working. And I don't think Comp just want to go out of their way and say, yeah, we screwed that up. We're sorry about it. We rewrote it and it works now because it just works now. It didn't work before.
So
Okay?
you're saying there
I
was
don't
like a
think
shadow
they
buff,
can
like
say
some
they
kind of
are.
thing. They're looking through segment. They're like, oh, you forgot to turn on this one, Frank.
That's what, okay, I
That's
am
what you're saying?
standing by that.
Okay,
Because
okay.
10 turns in a row got nothing. I think they just recoded it and it fixed because I think Segment is an incredible unit now.
I see.
I get third skills on water. I go water and I still land.
damage.
Yeah, you
Oh,
gotta
I
go
bet
crit damage.
would
though.
be amazing. I just can't do the crit damage personally.
It's just hard to utilize the reset without crit damage because then you don't punish when you miss. Like at least the crit damage, you do something when you miss.
It
You know.
hurts,
Yeah, but
dude.
I have despair, so I'll get the strip, and I've been getting the despair proc a lot. And then if I do land the resets, and plus I'm running out of rag, so it's
Maybe
the
worse.
revenging
I
fucking
feel
Curse
like-
of Beautiful out there is nice.
I feel like her on violent is just insane.
She's nuts.
No, trust me,
It's
it's
just
good on violent.
it's
I
absolutely
can't
nuts.
do it.
Yeah, it's like
I don't have the
throws the
violence
first
for
one,
it.
doesn't kill whatever unit, throws the second one, resets, and now that unit's like almost dead. Yep.
I think Segment would be such a seamless, great unit if her third skill lands like Elucia. It's like if it
Oh,
just
Jesus.
works like that.
Oh, you can't
You know-
do that.
Huh?
That'd be bad.
It
You'd
would
see
be
Segment
Excuse
first
me?
picked everywhere.
You want that
It'd
thing
be-
to land like a Lucia?
It
Rip
could
Okeanos, dude.
So if you
Okay,
don't
I'll
glance, you
probably
reset
do.
with 100%. Okay. That we're gonna see a lot of segments this coming RTA season. I'll tell you that. But I mean, it's not. I don't. Is it absurdly broken? I mean, it's hard to tell until things actually pan out. But I mean, it's in
I
the
don't know
realm.
if it'd be absurdly broken because,
It's
like,
respectable.
Elucia sleeps, she freezes, and she cleanses. Come
Yeah,
on,
attack
like
our
that's
boost.
like everything. She's on revenge now.
Okay. I mean, I like the idea, right? But what about the strip? Is the strip also guaranteed, or the strip has to go through check, and then just the reset is guaranteed?
I'm thinking the reset. It's like goes through accuracy, but the strip is 100%.
Okay.
To be honest, it really-
means it's on cooldown, not on cooldown ever. So if you're not landing the resets, you're just gonna have 100% strip over and over. So that means on violent, you're like strip. I didn't reset, but you violent proc, the skill's still up. You stripped again, and you didn't reset, so you just wait your turn again, and then just go and strip
So-
it all over again, just not hit
So
your
the,
resets.
the reason it doesn't work that easily is because glancing and strip and glancing and reset are not quite as simple as people think. You can still strip on glance, you can still reset on glance. So it doesn't. It's like she's just looking to be really, really strong. I think that is way too much of a buff for her. I think she would just go
That would
fucking
be
ham on
huge
people.
buff.
She would go ham on you.
What if they took away
I
that
would
other buff they give,
first
the one
pick
that doesn't
second.
make the skill go on cooldown if you miss, right? What if it's guaranteed hit, but that skill goes on cooldown no matter what? You know, that probably would be more feasible. Then at least there's a punishment if you miss the strip. But then again, there comes into the play of setting up for it now. Right now, it's like just a Gani S3, right? It's a weaker version of, I guess, Gani S3 because Gani S3 attack bar reduces as well. I don't know, just a higher damage multiplier. So would that be bad? You think, or what? Like a different version of Gani S3 ish.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah.
it's like S2, so yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Any other units? I can bring a couple other here that you guys.
For light, I think the two really underrated units are Valeria and Elsharion. I think they're not bad. They do have counters, but they're
I
pretty
think
good.
Elsharion is because people don't actually know that they buffed him. People just don't know how he works.
That's true.
Yeah,
Because
there's
do
been
you
more
remember his
assurance.
old? Do you remember his old passive, Thompson, with the damage scaling?
I only know what counters Elsharion, but yeah.
So
about-
the old thing was like you would.
Elsharion?
The old one was you'd gain damage based on stripped buffs, I believe, and the new one is you get damage based on how many buffs you have.
You have,
So if you
yeah.
have 3 buffs, you get a shit ton of damage right away.
Yeah.
Valeria is light Dryad for those of you guys who don't know. She's the cutest unit in the game.
Underrated, right? People don't know, like, yeah. I mean, it's good against, like, if you bring it in against a Rika, ooh, so good. Against the Asima, so good, right?
Yeah, I think
Stuff
it
like
falls under the category of supports next to Rakuni, Tetra, Filaria. They're kind of like all sitting
Yeah.
right there. Yeah, they're in that. She's in that
Probably
range.
the worst one out of that list.
Yeah,
Like most of the time, you still rather bring in Tetra or Rakuni,
Right.
or Triana, but she's not bad. I think she's underutilized. You know, she could have her shining moments. Except when you use her, the game drags out for a really, really long time.
yeah. The games are a little bit longer in that sense, for sure.
And I think El Sharon could be good too. They're just like, you know, if you pick El Sharon and the opponent picks like Bulwark, you're in a world of hurt, right? So stuff like that, you know, I think keeps El Sharon in place.
Yeah, definitely an underrated unit. Any other ones that have kind of jumped up lately that are underrated?
For
I have
Dark,
I have a list.
I think Dark Sylph is really OP. You know,
I think those have come up back with people picking Molong, Bulwark, Harmonia. Those have like slowly resurfaced again as like regular picks. I'm seeing a lot more people picking Odin again too.
Odin's really under.
Is he underrated? No, that's the thing.
I think
we're talking about RTA. We're talking about RTA.
To Guardian, to
I think
Legend.
Odin's right. He's definitely not underrated. He's just a good draft.
Oh, Odin's not underrated. All right.
I don't think he's underrated.
I think he's just where people think
a
he
lot of
is.
cleaves right now.
I think people are starting
it.
to use him a bit more with a bit more versatility. They're not using him just cleaves anymore. He's coming up as more of a 4th and 5th pick. I'm saying now, even though it's not purely cleave, he's coming up as that, you know, that niche pocket pick.
Because if you don't kill him, I mean, you're gonna get in trouble, right? He's gonna snipe something. So he's kind of dangerous, and he has survivability as well as you kind of have to go for him first potentially. Because if you go for anything else, you're just giving him free stacks. So it's kind
I think he's fairly easy to control. Most people don't build an Odin that's fast and scary enough. Most of the time, you can control it with something.
That's what I'm saying. Like in the meta, it's really hard to use Odin. Like imagine you're going to go in a tournament and you're going to use Odin. It's kind of hard, because like Gani, Hathor, stuff like that. It's so hard for Odin to deal with it, right?
Daphnis is really good against him too. You can literally just kill him the first turn and then he does nothing.
Yeah.
You can strip reset him and then he doesn't do anything. Just kill him right away.
I've done that.
I think it's very, very different when you look at it as a tournament for sure. When it comes to the ladder, you're more free to bring.
Yeah, to bring a team. Yeah.
Do you have any other ones you wanted to bring up that are underrated? I know you were like excited about the topic, so I'm curious of what you wanted to talk about.
A lot. Yeah, the Filaria, Asherion, Ashubal, Jamaire, Odin.
Jamaire is actually awesome. Like 100% Jamaire is one of the greatest units out there.
A lot of them has that speed lead that you could bring in to RTA, right?
I think the number one most underrated unit in RTA right now is Praha.
Oh, I tried Praha. No good. Yeah, I tried it. The sleep is so inconsistent. I don't like it.
All right, you lost us. Explain.
Do you build it on like Revenge, Despair?
You build it on Violent Will.
Violent Will. Okay. All right.
You build it on Violent Will with crit rate.
Huh?
You build it on Violent Will with crit rate. Because what happens is all the units that you want to use where you try to sustain against it, Praha will out-rotate you and sustain you. If you try to bring immunity against it or buffs, Praha out-rotates you and strips always.
I did try Violent Will Praha, but when you're using Violent Will Praha, you're very dependent on her sleep landing in a lot of cases. For some reason. I don't know why.
And then the other cool thing with the sleep is that it's not an attack, so it can't glance.
I get it, but I don't think Praha's that good.
What's the cooldowns on that?
I don't think she's like a top tier unit, but I totally think that she's underrated. I think people see Praha in a draft, they're like, what a shit unit, and then they get dumpstered by that Praha. Like that Praha just takes a million turns, it's over. You've lost.
And I think with the nerf of Violent Proc, I think Despair Revenge might be better because of the AoE,
I think you need your cooldowns. That's the problem. If you're able to reset her early and continue to hold her back,
you're not skill 3, you're like skill 3 is like, that's what I'm saying. Skill 3 is not consistent,
But you bring Praha in for your skill 2 as well, right? Like I understand Despair, I think is important. I don't think Revenge is the way. I think if you're gonna go it has to be Will. It has to be Despair Will or Violent Will. I don't think she can be used with any other set because if you reset her on the first turn, she's held back by too many turns.
The thing is, if you build a Praha like that, then you want Praha outspeeding your Ganymede, but that takes a lot of Violent Will, like a really good set. Yeah, and who's gonna do that when you could put it on?
I guess that's not the draft.
At least bringing her into. You have more flexibility. right?
So Praha is not Praha with like the Gani Hathor style is not what I'm drafting it into because I theoretically I don't want to use Praha with Hathor for the same reason that I don't want to use Juno with Hathor, right? The dots wake up the second turn of sleep, so you
Yeah.
part of it.
I'm
So I feel like
I'm not talking about Hathor. I'm talking about Ganymede.
I don't know if I'm picking Ganymede a lot of those things. Like I'm picking Praha into comps where people have double immunity or like they're using buff rotation focus, and I think unless they have like insane first turn damage, Praha just controls you with Praha.
Then
You have
they
like
go,
Praha and the Triana.
then they go. They first pick Hathor. Happens all the time, like 90% of the time RTA or 80% of the time. Then you give them Gani Hathor, you pick Praha.
Okay, I mean you're right. You're right. Okay, so you pick the Hathor in that case. You pick Fran Hathor, right? They pick the Hathor first. You pick Fran Gani.
Oh, okay.
So then they're probably if they go for something like I see a lot of people taking things like the Vanessa Triana there, or they'll take like a Veligul right away. They'll take a Veligul with something like a Veligul Barbara. That's where I feel like if they pick another buff, my last pick is Praha. If they pick another like immunity unit, like if they go double immunity with the Wusa, or if they decide to go with I don't know some other like main buffer, like if they pick a Bastet there, like the Bastet with the Veligul, then I could pick the Praha for free.
I think the thing is Praha's not free because your build requires violent, will, really fast because it has to move before Ganymede, and also it requires a lot of stats, right?
She's on my old. She's basically on my old Verd set.
Old Verd,
and then the new Verd set is now triple revenge instead, because that violent revenge build doesn't need to exist anymore for me.
Okay. The triple revenge Verd has its great uses, but also violent revenge is always better. Usually better.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying with Praha. I mean, maybe it's like we're talking about underrated, right? So obviously we're not talking about units that are like OP, right? But
yeah,
underrated.
We're not talking about units that are like the top of the top. We're just saying like this unit is actually good if you use it. I
think she could be fun to potentially use as a 4 or 5 pick, and like you said, against comps that have a lot of buffs and comps that are like trying to out sustain, because she does sustain quite a bit. Right, she does her job pretty well, and I think people underestimate the damage she does too. If you're ruining it, similar to how the stats you have on a Juno, right? All the Oracle's S1s actually are nuts, right? With turn cycling, right, to help get their skills, and just their damage output is pretty nice. So some people in chat were also talking about using her with Josephine. Could be of interest, right? Using Praha and Josephine together, it could be something of interest and something viable as well.
Yeah, too much water, I think that's
it is a little water. It is a lot of water.
True.
But typically, you're picking these units to react to other things you're playing against. So obviously, won't come up as much, especially with all the Hathors and Ganis you're up against, right? All that wind. But it is something to think about. But the hard thing is though, when you're thinking about these units, it's hard to really have them ruined up in the way that you would really want to use them for those situations. You know what I mean? Like it's tough.
I don't know about I know Tyler's very dead set on Will, but like just having revenge on Praha just seems like so good. Like just imagine they pick Chiwu, right? And your Praha revenges and gets the attack bar and turns around and like heals or like AoE strip, right? That's
cool. For that team, you're just picking the triple revenge Verd though, right?
But typically, I would say
that slot is just going to be the Verd.
You're just scared of getting reset. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to be playing like turn 1 with it, so you want to make sure it's safe. I think so. I think the Will's a good option. But revenge, I mean, in that particular situation, you're saying is very good. But
I mean, like that's because sometimes I would play against Chiwus and I have like my Juno's on revenge, right? And then everyone's Juno's on revenge. And sometimes like have your Juno ever revenged and then like you AoE strip. It's pretty crazy. Good stuff.
I think anybody ruining up a Praha, they probably have a little bit of rune depth though. There's no way you're gonna be like, I'm gonna prepare this Praha when your runes are probably better else somewhere. We're calling it violent will, violent revenge.
It all just comes down to the units you have, right? Like I'm just saying the unit is usable. People say it's garbage. It's not. Like, I'm not saying at no point have I preached that Praha is a better pick. Stop picking blank. Pick Praha instead. Like you can use a Praha, it works.
I would agree with that. Like any unit that has AoE strip could be good somewhere, Yeah.
How about Lima? Have you guys been seeing a lot of that? I mean, like on
Lima's
paper, she's
crazy.
so nuts on paper.
So good now.
That unit is disgusting.
It's ridiculous.
So good.
Have you seen it a lot though? I have not particularly seen it a lot. Through like other people doing RTAs and drop stuff, but on paper and what from my hearing from everybody's like, yeah, Lima's great, but are you seeing it a lot? Like
I don't see it a lot, but when I see it, it never stops taking turns. The person has like 4 recovery buffs. I'm like, how? How do you have 4 recovery buffs?
100% chance of strip now on S2 is like, huh? And slow, huh? Like, I think Varian is probably pretty happy about that unit. Probably, trying to make him test it out a little bit more as well, because he used to use him quite a bit, right? Lima was one of his biggest picks for the earlier RTA seasons prior. Yeah, with Molong, obviously. Yeah, obviously with the Molong. So that kind of takes away from it. But I think that's a solid unit that I don't think I see enough. And I wonder if it's some of the players that have it that are just not busting it out. I don't know.
I think people just don't have it, Like, who has Lima? It's so hard, right? I want a Lima. Don't have a Lima.
The 2 units that I really like that I want to build next are the light werewolf and the blue werewolf.
Yeah, I heard about the blue werewolf. I did not hear about the light one.
I really like Vigor. I think he's good.
The light werewolf is you're just using it as an attack bar booster, right?
Yeah.
Well, he's also strip and he's also multi-hit.
I think a She-Ho on light She-Ho.
He also has heal block.
I get it. But
so if you're using him as a support, for the healing, the speed buff, the strip, etc., you can actually use him to kill Mihos at the end if you're not building on damage. The multi-hits do enough damage with the HP scaling that you can actually finish a Miho off if you lower its HP.
Ashir is really bad against Miho because it crits Miho.
You got 30% guaranteed now without runes.
It always you always play when you're playing against Miho, it always drags on to endgame, and Ashir is really, really bad endgame.
HP scaling, right?
The HP scales, and he just
in those cases I actually use him to kill Miho second, almost always. I always kill Miho second.
I have tested the Vigor a lot, and it's one awesome unit. It's really good. Yeah.
So what's the good points about it for people that haven't seen it?
It's good against like Antares, good against Vertihil because it has the anti-crit buff. But just like the problem with Escher, later on in the game he's not that good because he's there for damage dealing, right? And also it's hard to shake off 3-turn armor break,
True. Very true. Yeah, so I would say Vigor out of those two would probably be used more. But how are you trying to utilize Escher? Are you actually going to build one of these? Or
the main difference between the two is one is a strip and one is a defense break. Right. It's going to be harder for me to find a good use for Vigor because I have a Barbara, right? Like Barbara literally just does everything that he does but better.
No. It's for players without Barbara. It's good. You guys can feel the same feel.
Budget Barbara.
Yeah. Come on, guys. Come on now.
I have a Barbara too, but sometimes Vigor is better with the heal and the anti-crit.
I think Into the Vert is really good. I think you're totally right when you brought that up.
Yeah. And then like the Vert crits you twice and you're like, anti-buff.
Well, but even then you have 3-turn defense break, and it's hard for Vert to shrug out of 3-turn debuffs. Like you can shrug out of 2 turns fairly easily, but 3 turns is really hard. Like you either need a proc or you need to be way faster.
His damage is also very predicated on when he lands the defense break. Because like when you make a Vigor, it's hard to put a lot of accuracy on him because you need a lot of crit damage, right? But if he armor breaks on first turn, oh my god, it's like 7,000 damage, 7,000 damage, 7,000 damage, and the unit's dead. It's just
that Vert is going to be super low health. Majority of them.
Yeah. Also, like sometimes I find myself like hoping it doesn't revenge back on me, so that happens too.
Even if it does, at least you're water, right? That's some perfect guess. Yeah.
Once and it's enough, 20% attack bar push.
I think out of the 2 hits, it should crit you one of the 2 technically. So
yeah.
Speaking of underrated units, can we get a Charlotte buff?
Again?
I just want her skill 3 to be 3 turns, like 3-turn debuff, like all of her sisters. Is that fair? Is that fair to ask for?
What does she have right now? Glancing? Is it
glancing? Glancing and attack bar pushback. Why can't she have 3-turn glancing?
It's because she gets the attack bar pushback.
Yeah, but everyone else gets 3-turn debuffs.
Does she get
Annabelle has 3-turn Annabelle has 3-turn defense break and 2-turn slow debuff.
But doesn't she attack bar push as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, 20%.
She goes backwards and forwards and glancing, right?
Yeah.
So
but her slow debuff is super inconsistent, whereas all the other ones have consistent slow. All the other ones.
Wait,
Rika and Annabelle both have more consistent slow debuffs.
Who do you say have consistent slow debuff?
Annabelle and Rika on their skill 3.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah.
Charlotte has the inconsistent slow debuff on skill 2.
Slow debuff.
What's that?
I said Laura does not have a consistent slow debuff like Charlotte.
She does.
The problem with Charlotte is like She's you know what, she reminds me of the thing that's wrong with her kit actually reminds me of what was wrong with old Mo Long. Old Mo Long was all or nothing. He did amazing things or he did absolutely nothing. Like with his skill 2, right? You remember his skill 2 used to be like, if you either strip stun, everyone's fucked, or you miss everything. And
You know what's
and you
fucked up
cry,
is that
right?
Is this your first time using occult girls? You don't know how the occult girls work, man. They're all like that. Their skill 1 could be like very good or very bad.
No,
Their
I mean the skill 2 specifically being 50% chance for the slow debuff and the stun is like, if you hit half of it, you kind of have to hit the slow and the stun together. Otherwise, it doesn't impact anything.
I have tuned my Laura to move after Gianna, and a lot of times all the monsters are stunned up. I just want to put slow debuff on them, and it usually lands 1 monster out of 4 monsters.
What's the chances to land it though? What's the
50%.
50%. Yeah.
That's just
And
awesome.
1, I'm being really like optimistic, right? Yeah, I'm not even exaggerating. It's very true. I have a lot of replays, but yeah. Anyway,
But
I think
at least Laura's 100% chance to put defense buff, right? That's nice, right? That's
So
why she's
the reason I say that is because I mean I used her for the whole special league, and then I tried to use her for most of the regular league. Like I had her at 299 speed, 299 speed, 1 speed behind Gemini, and then I had a Bastet that was faster, and it still didn't really make a difference. Like using her to push or using her to actually control or anything, it just anytime that I did get the rotation where I could actually skill 3 and then look into skill 2, like it didn't feel impactful enough in any draft. Even if I was picking like a full rotation draft, like let's say I picked a Verd with that as well, or if I picked more damage because the defense break is there, she just doesn't. I feel like if she misses skill 2, she does very, very little. Whereas with the other ones, like with Rika, if Rika misses skill 2, her skill 3 is still super impactful because she has 3-turn slow debuff on skill 3, right? Her skill 2 missing is not as bad because she has 3-turn slow debuff and the dots, right? With Annabelle, it's like you have 3-turn defense break, which is huge, and then you have 2-turn slow debuff, and then you can heal cleanse if you want, right?
Yeah, Charlotte is the weakest one of them for sure. Yeah.
I think when you use Charlotte, you're just looking to have fun, like because her skill 1 might not land, her skill 2 might not land. You know.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases, if you're putting in that slot for Charlotte, a Swift Hathor would be 99% better in most cases.
Yep.
Yeah, even a Swift Ganymede would be better protecting your Gemini or going right after your Gemini.
Even an Okeanos would have been better.
So it comes down to if you're just using Charlotte, you might just be trolling, you know. You just
What if Charlotte?
I don't like that though. I don't like that. Like Charlotte is just like like, if you're using a Charlotte, you're trolling. Like that sucks.
What
I
if
hate
Charlotte?
I understand. Yeah. No, I get
There's a lot of other Nat 5s that are in worse situations than that, though. I think Charlotte's fine. I think compared to Rika and Annabelle, I understand where you're coming from, but I think there's other.
Have you ever used Charlotte?
Worse
Yeah. Do you have a Charlotte?
compared to their brothers either?
That's
Do you have a Charlotte?
What?
Do you own a Charlotte?
I do own a Charlotte. I use it for
Have
TOA only.
Have you used? Yeah. Okay. So you don't know yet. You don't know until you use it for PvP. You don't know, man.
What if she
I
absorbed?
don't
What
want
if she
to
absorbed an
number. That's
S3?
why.
If she absorbed an S3 and she got an S2 instantly, that'd be kind of nuts.
That would be OP. That'd be OP.
Yeah.
I'm not even asking for a lot. I'm literally just asking for
I mean,
one
it's-
extra
it's-
turn on the glancing debuff on her skill 3.
Think about it,
I'm
if
not
she
asking
absorbs
for
and
anything
goes-
crazy.
That's not that crazy, is it? Is that crazy?
I'm
Is that
not
super
even
crazy?
asking for a lot, he said.
I'm literally asking for a tiny, tiny little buff, and everyone's like, no.
But no,
No, you can't
nobody's
have
saying
this.
no. But the thing is that your buff is really gonna do nothing. 3-turn glancing is never not really gonna change her and make her any better and more used than what she is. So I'm thinking of something that's actually gonna, have her
So-
use.
so
3-turn
three-turn-
glancing.
three-turn glancing debuff.
Whoa.
So
Whoa.
three-turn glancing debuff
Yeah.
makes a small difference. It makes a small difference because if you miss your skill 2, your skill 3, the debuffs from your skill 3 on the first turn last for 1 extra turn. So it actually lasts through the violent proc into the next turn. That's why it's better. That's why 3-turn debuffs are so good. That's why bigger skill 3 is good. 3-turn defense break against the bird is something he can't shrug off.
So what
2-turn
about-
defense break is something he can shrug off.
So what about if they gave it 3-turn glancing but got rid of the attack bar pushback?
No.
No, there's no way.
If you had one or
Why
the
are
other,
you
what
trying?
would
Why are you trying to
If you had,
compromise?
if you
a
had
unit?
one or the other, what would you take?
Why are you trying
She
to
does-
compromise a unit you already know is bad? You watched me play with it. You know what it's like. You can't just argue. Why are you trying to take something away from someone who has nothing?
I mean, the big benefit from her is the big advantage you get in attack bar manipulation, right? You're pushing them back, plus pushing you forward. So that's supposed to be the part where she shines in, is that, you know, even if you're not particularly speed tuned or you have slower units, she's literally giving you a omega push, right? Backwards and forwards. That's big, dude. That's real big. That's where it's supposed to be big, but whether or not you can utilize that functionality that's the tough part, right? But
you can only utilize that functionality if you can control the next turn, which is why if you miss a skill 2, you don't control anything, and it's like all your momentum is gone.
Right.
So I know as Charlotte users, you have like they build a Charlotte either on crit damage, attack, or like high accuracy, and it's very frustrating for the high accuracy Charlotte users to like see a derp like crazy like that. I know.
Can we talk about underrated unit? Molong. I think it's been a long time. You know, he's kind of been forgotten a little bit.
Okay.
Like,
you really just say Molong's underrated after?
Yeah. Like people used to highly rate him, and now he's underrated. You know, let's like give him a little bit of love. You know what I'm saying? No, not just because I just got one, but just because I just got one. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, keep picking Molong into me. It's easy wins.
Yeah, like let's talk about that. Maybe no damage taken after the S3. You know what I'm saying? Like, so he's not as susceptible. You know,
it's still one of the better answers against Artemil, but there's a lot of monsters that
still one of the better answers to Artemil. Not once have I seen somebody draft and go, "Oh shit, Artemil, fucking bust out my Molong here." Like
I've never. Actually, a lot of people are doing that right now.
Really? I'm not seeing anything. I'm watching a lot of people play, dude. And I'm watching replays. I'm watching like Roger play a lot. I'm watching a bunch of people play. None of them are picking it out, dude.
But Roger would never pick a Molong in general.
True. Yeah,
so that's
right.
not
no,
really.
But
like
it's just one example of like a bunch of people that have been following up. They're just not using Molong as much.
You don't see like Artemil Molongs being picked into Artemil because like armor breaks, it doesn't crit on third skill. It's great against Artemil. Why not?
But there's so many other units being used. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but how many units do 70% of your health just instantly with no repercussions?
There is a repercussion. You're low HP now.
It doesn't matter. You're fine. Who cares? You have so much HP anyways.
I think the only issue with Molong
just fucking buff Molong.
When you draft them, everyone knows what you're doing. I think that's the only thing that Molong has against him right now.
So that's the thing. People in the meta are doing. If you pick Molong, they feel like forced to pick this like insane snipe comp where it's like Bulwark or they're picking Odin and shit like that. You can honestly just pick Molong in your other drafts, and it's not bad. Like Molong defense breaks. If the enemy doesn't have buffs, he probably will stun at least 2 of them. And then his skill 3 is 70% of their HP. If they have nothing to protect against 70%, you just shit on people.
It just sounds good on paper, guys. It needs a buff. Like, trust me.
It is good.
No. It's not, dude. Trust me. I've done none of my RTA matches this season yet. I know. Yeah, it's not good enough. I think it needs some changes.
You know, going into, I think you guys heard me talk about this before, but going to SWC 2019, I was really scared of Llama's Molong. I was like, what am I going to do against it? Because it's like, it just like, I feel like it does everything with the ragdoll, you know?
And the ragdoll and the Yunhong, it's like, oh.
Yeah, it's just
that's a lot. That's a lot of pressure.
Yes, Brian, we should buff Molong, okay? What do you want?
I agree.
Let's go back to pre-2018 nerf.
Hey, if we're gonna
be
buff
happy with that.
Molong, we're gonna buff Molong. Can we also buff Barbara?
Yeah.
I know you pulled one of those recently too, you know?
Yeah, I have to. Yeah, I like that.
50%
So I think Molong's skill
per
3
buff.
should be AoE and deal 99% damage and then instantly trigger a skill 2.
That's ridiculous.
What do you think?
I think AoE at 70% is more than enough. Huh? I mean, we're talking.
You don't. Wait. What about skill 2?
Right?
Irresistible. Skill 2 is an irresistible strip now. What do you think?
Skill 1 is guaranteed defense break. I'll take that.
For
That's
3
that
turns,
little
for 3
bit.
turns.
Yeah,
For
2
3
turns.
turns.
Okay, you're just fucking memeing me now, you bitch. But nah, I just gotta figure out some other ways to use Molong, man. Have some fun with him. But thinking back at Molong, his S2 kind of reminds me of like what Antares is. The unpredictability is what really kind of sways a lot of the matches and why he got that nerf, So yeah, he definitely needed that nerf. Yeah, I'm just kidding. Molong's in a fine spot. Definitely fine. All right, any last words you guys want to bring up here before we call it? This might be our longest podcast we've ever done. Sick.
So I think. Okay, there's 2 more units I wanted to say.
Okay.
I think Rakan is also not terrible right now, and I think Celia is also not terrible right now.
The Fire Fairy.
Yeah. Only because of the skill 2. I think the skill 2 is actually what makes her decent.
Wait, isn't this skill 2 like throw 2 random craps out and if it hits the same target,
okay.
stuns?
So if you throw out 2 things,
Uh-huh.
if you hit the same target, it's irresistible stun unless you glance.
That's never happening on a regular match, but okay.
Well, I used Acelia for a long time. It happens quite a bit, but you can despair stun on each separate arrow too, which is kind of cool. So you actually have quite a few chances to hit.
Acelia is really bad unit. I just want to tell you.
Hudson,
I want to have.
I would like to
Gianna,
point out that
okay?
you have a Gianna, my friend.
I mean,
No.
no. Chiwu, Triton,
that's
you
a fair
know,
argument.
and other AOE strippers, Tiana, right? Laura, but I'm talking.
I will only agree that because Chiwu is more predominant now, that Acelia is not that great as a AoE stripper. But I mean, you're a little bit biased still because of Gianna. But yeah, keep going.
Water Skullgirl probably strips better, right?
Huh? Water
Doesn't
Skull?
it strip and armor break? I'm just saying, Azalea's really bad.
Doesn't she slow as well? She's like an AoE Oki that slows, right? That's what the S3 feels like. It feels like Oki's
She's
S3.
really good into just Will. She's okay against Wusa, like the 2 buffs, and she's terrible against 3 buffs. She's absolutely terrible against 3 buffs.
What if the Wusa is on shield? You're fucked.
No, the thing is, I can't see myself.
Wusa's on
using
shield.
this
I probably don't have as many things to worry about as you think.
I mean, like, Wusa on shield is pretty good. I mean, it counters the Gemini. Its base speed is really fast. I see on shield plenty of times. Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, like, I'd rather use a Gemini. I'd rather use a Chiwu now because Chiwu's so much more consistent. It's hard. I think Acelia had a chance, but now with all these other ones coming into Reign, I feel like she got pushed back still. I think she's good, but she got pushed back on the total poll, unfortunately, because
She
of,
does
like,
well in like the turn 2e comps where you can rotate really fast. That's about it though.
The thing is,
I mean, it's super niche. I'm not saying she's like really good. I'm saying she's not completely garbage.
I didn't know that she can
Good
separate
because
despair
budget,
stun in S2
right?
though. What's that?
She's good because she's budget. If you don't have any strippers,
Budget.
hey, you can get one free to play, right?
I mean, her stats are good too, so it's
Stats
not
are
like
good, yeah.
you don't look at them like, oh, it's a nat 3. You look at those like that's a nat 4.5. Like the stats are good.
Exactly, yeah.
All right, what's
I
your
think
last
that's
unit?
so
if you draft Azalea,
Budget.
you need to bring a lot of damage into it. Yeah.
Or 2 AoE pushbacks. She's actually fairly good with Tyron. If you run her with Tyron, you run the slow debuff and the Tyron instantly pushes you back, and it's actually pretty good.
It's not bad, but yes, maybe in special league. But we're talking about regular RTA. It's still not enough damage because Tyron wouldn't be able to push through the HP or the heal or the cleanse.
And what's
I
your
think
last
so.
unit, Tyler? You had one more unit, right?
Rakan.
Oh yeah, Rakan.
Oh, Rakan. Yeah.
Rakan's strip provoke is actually pretty good.
How consistent is it? Does it feel pretty good?
Yeah, and it does like it. I mean, it feels
It's super
strong enough.
consistent. I have it ruined on 73 accuracy right now.
Whoa.
Laying the provokes on the
Is it
collapse
awakened accuracy?
every single time. The
Is
strip
it awakened
provokes.
accuracy?
I have no clue. I just know
I
I
don't
run
think so.
73% accuracy.
Yo,
70%
no, it's
accuracy.
got to awaken accuracy. No way you put 75% Rakan. Let me check.
He's running a
Let me
slot.
show-
He's
I'll-
running
I'll
slot
just show
6
you my
accuracy.
Rakan right
He's
now.
running slot 6
All right.
accuracy. Confirm. Slot 6 accuracy.
What
Yeah, I
the-
think it awakens. I think it awakens to 25.
It does. He gets 25.
Yeah.
Oh,
Sorry,
okay. yeah.
71 accuracy.
Whoa. It never just provoke or what?
No, strip provoke all the time. More than
Oh, all
CR
the
land
time.
bombs.
Oh, 75 might
So
be
it's the
overkill.
new
That's
good
not
fire
fire
tank.
Sierra
then.
never lands bombs.
Nah, sample size is a lot larger, but yeah, true. Does it actually do as a good fire tank now because of that? Because that's
Oh,
kind of
wow.
cool. That's kind of cool.
I love it. I absolutely love that buff to Rakan. I was also on the boat that didn't think Rakan really needed it, but I'm also on the Guild Wars aspect of things. Not RTA, but
Okay. All right.
I didn't think
Got
it
it.
really needed it.
I also think
Were
Were
Rakan
you
should
talking
utilize
about
her
stack.
RTA or Guild Wars, Tyler?
Hmm?
Were you talking about RTA or Guild Wars, Tyler?
For Rakan.
both.
What?
I mean, he's
Rakan?
way better in Guild Wars. In RTA, he's actually like not a bad anti-cleave unit right now.
Oh,
Really?
anti-cleave. Oh, I didn't think about it for anti-cleave. Yeah, the cleave and you just
bad.
chuck it in there.
Well, because there's a bunch of good fire anti-cleave units, and you can actually just pick his HP lead for like the initial burst, and then you just outlast people really quick. A lot of people's bursts, like a lot of people's cleaves right now, are just like 1-turn burst. If they can't 1-turn burst you, they don't snowball, and they just lose.
I don't know. I think you're what's it called? The Tyron? Is it Tyron?
Tyron,
Tyron?
who?
It's better than Rakan, right? For anti-cleave. The one as his HP goes down, he deals more damage. The fire unit, the fire assassin.
Trevor.
Yeah, Trevor. It's better for anti-cleave against Lucian, Zyros.
The reason Trevor doesn't work so well is his base stats are too low. His base stats are actually like way too low to be
We'll get
used.
better runes then.
He's got like
Come
he's got like 9.2k base HP, whereas Rakan has 12.
As he takes more damage, as he takes damage, he takes less damage, right?
Yeah, but it's not fast enough to do that. Like,
But you're talking about Rakan in an anti-cleave. I don't know. I don't like it too much.
the other thing is, I feel like Rakan on Violent has more pressure, whereas Trevor has to be on Vampire.
I don't know. There's just so many like Minas and Daphnis running around. I don't think Rakan would ever be in RTA meta.
Slot 5 though is what he's trying to say.
I didn't say meta.
Oh, okay.
I mean, we're talking about underrated units yet again, right?
Yeah.
These units work for these things,
Yeah.
right? And the answer is Violent is better than Vampire for this build. For
I guess
Rakan.
like we have different definitions for underrated units. I think that's the thing, right? Yeah.
I guess what you're looking at is you're looking at like pocket picks that are just like actually
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Whereas when we say underrated units, it's more like, you know, people say this unit's garbage, and it's like it's better than average for sure. Like people do use it and it does work. It's not like great.
Okay.
It's not like
I
amazing.
might have got the question wrong.
He's
Yeah.
definitely good.
I'm thinking like
I don't think it's about getting the question wrong or anything. It's just a difference of perspectives, right? As long as we talk about it, like where we're coming from, I think it's fine.
Yeah, Thompson.
no, I've been
One more mention with Rakan though. You should build some attack on him because attack buff he gets for free, and also you have you gain attack over time as you lose HP. So like having a like 500 or 600 attack on your Rakan is pretty good. His base attack is not bad. It's 700.
Off of Vampire, if you're running him on Violent, I think his utility is more important than the damage he's going to be dealing. Those collapses are coming in based off his maxed HP. So everyone's ruining a Rakan on high HP. So if he's getting his collapse in there, he's dealing more damage, he's provoking. I think him being on the field is more important than him having higher attack power, try to take advantage of that skill 1. Because that means now it's very viable that you have great speed on him. Because if you don't have great speed on him, like you're slow, you're not taking advantage of that attack power.
I know
that's mostly where you're drafting. You're drafting them where you're taking advantage of them taking your turn, not you taking your turn at that time.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know for Guild War, it always gets me when it like violent procs and then self buffs and then it starts going crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, it's really good for Guild War. Yeah.
It feels really good. Like, you know, when you're playing
I got wrecked by all the time.
Like certain units, when they use their skills, it's so satisfying, dude. There's a certain satisfaction to Rakan collapsing, and now with the strip, it just feels even more satisfying. I don't know why. It's
I like your idea
you know?
more. I still like your idea, Brian. You know, return when you hit them, it like AoE provokes or something like that.
Yeah, I think I like that idea better and would make it more viable if S3 made it so it would AoE provoke, but only when you used it. People were thinking, "Oh, you're crazy!" Like every single revenge. No. Only when you use the S3, it's one time AoE provoke, just one time. I think that'd be viable.
I mean,
and
look
not
at the
uncounterable.
druids, man.
Yeah, the druids is a good example, right? The druids can do it.
Do you guys get tilted? Like, I understand druids are powerful units, but do you guys get tilted when your whole team gets AoE provoked when you're going up against a druid?
Yeah.
Nothing's more tilting than that.
That's
Like against a Pater or against like freaking tourneys, it's like whoa.
and it's because you know they don't have accuracy, right? Like they're not built on accuracy.
Yeah, it's like
It
The
just
only
gets
thing
you.
the only thing that's more tilting is when someone's Chiwu is Thor. That's literally the only thing that tilts me more than getting full team provoked by like a druid is when my my Chiwu does it all the time. Like the last couple of days I've been picking Chiwu, 2 turn sleep, 2 turn sleep, 2 turn sleep, 2 turn sleep. I'm like, whoa, that guy's probably through his phone just now.
I don't know about that. I think like
On opposite element.
Oh yeah, I hit a 2-turn sleep on I think it was on a Josephine actually. After she used her passive, I hit a 2-turn sleep on her because I had no choice, and I was like, wow, we just got a lot of momentum. Like she's sitting there doing nothing.
I feel like you should expect it more from Chiwu. It's more painful when it happens when a Wusa does it to you.
Yep.
Yeah,
true.
you know what's not going to happen. But then when Chiwu does, you're like, okay, he's got accuracy.
I mean, the chance is so low to hit it though.
It's so
like,
low though.
30%.
Yeah.
no 25, right? 25%.
Let me check.
But all right, here's the thing. Wusa, like Chiwu has 85. All Chiwus usually have like 85, at least 85 accuracy. But
Yeah,
the thing
25,
with but the thing with Wusa is it violent procs, so that kind of evens it out. Because sometimes it could like shield, violent proc, first skill, and something gets slept.
Yeah.
It's lower than the occult girl's first skill. I know. The sleep.
feel like it happens more than the Okoko sleep though. I don't know why.
Oh my god, I'm a
Oh, man.
Okoko user
Like-
but it's just for fun. You
Like
know,
when you use a
there's-
Koker, you want to have fun, and you're like every time you're trying to have fun, you're like, oh, this is my moment. If I just proc, nope, it's not happening. It's not happening. There's no proc, there's no sleep, there's no proc. Yeah, no proc at all.
But sometimes it happens so often where it's like you don't want it to happen and it happens. It's like, oh, stop sleeping, and then just like sleep. You're like, what is this? I don't need it.
All right.
That's you?
All right, some very good discussions today. Very long podcast. I definitely enjoyed it. Hopefully, if you guys are watching this on YouTube, I don't know, a lot of people like to open these podcasts while they're doing stuff. This is probably a little bit more enjoyable. A lot of fun topics, some really good discussions, some stuff that we've never really talked about before in the past that I'd like to probably continue to talk about more in the future as well and bring up for future podcasts. But thank you guys so much for joining me on the podcast today. We're going to put the links on all of the Twitch channels down below in the descriptions. So feel free to check them out. Everybody here streams quite a bit, except for Thompson this week.
Whoa.
I haven't seen- huh?
What?
Huh? Bro, you can't just stream like every day for 1 week and be like, I'm a consistent streamer and then like just take 3 weeks off, dude.
Dude, Thompson is the most consistent streamer I've ever met in my whole
Thank
life.
you.
I don't know what you're talking about. How
I
could you
like-
dare talk shit to my
Alright.
number one most
Oh.
consistent streamer idol right here?
So stating facts is now talking shit. All right, we learn things
Oh,
every day from this
oh.
podcast. Learning
Hey, I
things
do
every
know that.
day.
Also, if you want to play against me in LOL, you have to go through my teacher first. My student. You have to
Okay.
beat him before you get to me. 'Cause I'm
I see. And I'd also let's just like to state another
and then if
fact
you
here.
can play him and beat him, then you're
Uh-huh.
allowed to play me.
But I'd like
Yeah.
to state another fact. For me to be able to beat him to play you in League, you need to first download League of Legends. That would be definitely.
Oh,
first-
wow.
yeah. Let me see your desktop right now.
There's
bro.
been a lot of talk
You can't
between you two
lose.
about League of Legends. When are we going to actually have this playoff?
You can't lose if you don't have
You
the
guys
game.
keep talking about it. I want to
We
see
gotta
it.
play for
Make it
something.
happen.
We got to
You
play.
can't-
for something.
You can't lose if it's not installed.
Play for the
That's
Fermion
true.
figurine. Play
Yeah,
for the
I've been
Fermion
doing some more
figurine.
bonus games lately after stream. So maybe we gotta set it up. We gotta set some Summoners War players go to League. Summoners War players go to CS:GO. Summoners War players, like we should just play all the games, dude. I'm sure they would like to see us play all the games. Let's do it. I'm
we
down.
should do that. Yeah.
Yup.
Oh, they need a Summoners War players play Portal or like a game like Portal with like 5 of us trying to do puzzles together.
Oh,
Can
no.
you imagine the 5 of us going to an escape room or something? Oh my god, that'd be
Oh,
hilarious. That'd be
Dude,
hilarious.
that's content, dude. That's content. But we this whole quarantine's gotta like kind of blow off, and then we can kind of set that up.
If we do 5-on-5 LOL, Tyler's on my team. Just saying because student teacher association type.
What
of
if I
thing.
told you that Brian's better than I am?
Really?
Wait, do you even play League, Tyler? Wait,
Not
do you-
anymore.
Did you used to play League?
Yeah.
What was your peak rank?
I
Oh, sorry, I didn't say that.
peak finish, or the highest rank I ever got.
Highest rank you ever got?
I got Challenger once in season 3.
Nah, that's a
One time.
Woo! Yeah, pigs
And I
fly.
lost-
Yeah, you're right.
I
You're
lost
right. I
the
seen
same
those
week,
before.
and I never
I
got
seen
it
them.
back.
I seen them pigs fly before. Okay, all right. I'm curious then.
That was also like 7 years ago, so I don't think I'm even close to that anymore.
Yeah. All right, we got to hit up those games. I like the
I believe
I like
in
the
you.
smack talk. It's fun. It's
So
definitely
many
very
people
fun.
come to my stream now. They're like, "Do you play League? What rank are you?" I'm like, "I'm like Wood 1.5, maybe like a Tin 5 on a good day." I don't even know what ranks are in League anymore. I don't play League at all. It's been so long.
Anyways, thank you guys for watching this podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Leave those likes and those comments. Yeah, leave some likes and comments on what you guys want to see, of course, in the future for podcasts. Some of your suggestions, and maybe this week in particular, some of the games that you think would be good. Yeah, that you'd like to see Summoners War players playing, and maybe we can try to set that up. Yeah, I'll try to link up everybody and set it up. Should be good fun. Yeah,
Monopoly.
That's gonna be like 6
I'm
hours.
not
Okay,
looking
sounds
forward
good.
to 200 ping.
Yeah,
Monopoly.
don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment on the podcast, guys. Hopefully we can
Whoa.
see your stuff. We were gonna do this last time. Remember, we were gonna
Oh,
sign
yeah,
off
yeah,
for
yeah.
Brian.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, game
Good.
down below. Game down in the comment section. Smash Bros. Let's go.
And if you
Alright.
if you want to find any of our things, they'll be in the comments or the thing below the video.
The description below.
Things. Come
The
on.
description, Tyler.
Yeah, that. I mean, we're here as the group. We're working on this. Yeah, I'm not a YouTuber.
Teamwork,
sir. I'm not a
teamwork, bro.
YouTuber.
Yeah.
I sit on the podcast. I don't claim to be a YouTuber.
And that's the end of the podcast. Thank you for watching.